Hello guys, welcome to Saiyan What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Goku became the celestial god and fell in love with the star goddess? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Blank, blank, underscore, blank. Chapter 1. Ascension Beyond Limits. The universe shattered around Son Goku like brittle glass. One moment he had been fighting, as he always was, as he always had been, against an enemy who threatened not just Earth but existence itself. The battle against Void, an entity of absolute nothingness that sought to unmake reality, had pushed him beyond even Ultra Instinct. His friends had fallen one by one. Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, all swept aside by the entropy that radiated from their opponent. In that final moment, with the universe unraveling at the seams, Goku had done the impossible. He had broken through the ceiling of godhood itself. Now the kaleidoscopic fragments of reality spun around him, each shard containing galaxies, dimensions, timelines, the things he had once fought to protect without truly comprehending their scope. His body, once solid and defined by muscle memory and Saiyan biology, now existed as something simultaneously more substantial and more ephemeral than flesh. What happened to me? His voice rippled outward, creating harmonic resonances in the fabric of space-time rather than mere sound waves. You've ascended beyond your design, mortal. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, ancient as the void between stars yet crisp as the first light of creation. Or should I say, former mortal. Goku turned, or rather, his awareness shifted, toward the voice. A figure materialized, composed of swirling stellar matter. She appeared humanoid only in the loosest sense, her form constantly shifting between states of cosmic beauty. Her hair flowed like solar flares, her skin shimmered with the birth and death of stars, and her eyes contained galaxies in spiraling motion. "Who are you?" Goku asked, surprised to find his consciousness stabilizing. His perception adapting to this new reality with the same instinctive speed that had always served him in battle. "I am Asteria, goddess of stars." Her voice carried the melody of stellar fusion. "And you, Son Goku, have become something unprecedented. A mortal ascending not merely to godhood. There have been many lesser gods who were once mortal, but to the rank of celestial." Celestial. Goku looked down at his form, now composed of energy patterns resembling his human shape but interwoven with threads of cosmic force. Power unlike anything he'd ever felt coursed through him. Not concentrated in his muscles or key centers but distributed throughout his entire being. "Is that why everything feels different?" Asteria's laughter sounded like distant stellar chimes. "Different. You've become a fundamental force of creation. The universe doesn't merely contain you now, you contain aspects of the universe." She circled him, trailing stardust in her wake. "When you shattered your mortal limitations to defeat Void, you absorbed the cosmic energy he had consumed. That power had to go somewhere. The universe chose you as its vessel." Memories of the battle flashed through Goku's consciousness, not as mental images but as actual fragments of space-time he could observe from his new vantage point. He saw himself standing alone against Void, his friends scattered across the battlefield. He remembered reaching for power beyond Super Saiyan, beyond God Ki, beyond Ultra Instinct, and finding something both ancient and newborn waiting for him. "So I'm not me anymore?" The question carried genuine concern. Through all his transformations, Goku had always remained Goku. "You are more you than ever before," Asteria replied, her expression softening into starlight. "The universe doesn't choose its caretakers randomly. What you were shaped what you've become." Before Goku could respond, the space around them darkened perceptibly, as though the very fabric of reality were drawing back. A new presence emerged from the shadows between dimensions, not approaching from any direction but simply becoming more present in their awareness. "The council is convening, Asteria." The new voice was velvet smooth yet carried undercurrents of absolute zero. "They've sensed the emergence of a new celestial. They're disturbed." From the darkness coalesced a figure that seemed to be crafted from the absence of stars. Where Asteria radiated light in perpetual fusion, this being absorbed it. Her form was elegant and sharp, her movements liquid shadow, her eyes like event horizons against the pale cosmos of her face. "Nix, Asteria acknowledged with a nod that sent cascades of stardust tumbling. I was just acquainting our new colleague with his transformation. Nyx circled Goku, darkness trailing her like a cloak of event horizons. A mortal ascending to celestial status. Unprecedented indeed. Her gaze penetrated Goku with analytical precision. The balance has shifted. Creation requires stability, not improvisations. Goku met her gaze unflinchingly, his warrior's instinct recognizing a challenge despite the new cosmic context. I didn't ask for this power, he said, his voice steady, but I've never run from responsibility before. Responsibility, Nyx repeated, the word folding through dimensions as she spoke it. You speak of responsibility when you cannot possibly comprehend the role you've stumbled into. She turned to Asteria. He smells of mortality still. His essence carries the taint of limited perception. That taint might be precisely what creation needs. Asteria countered, her stellar form brightening defensively. The cosmic balance has grown stagnant. Perhaps this disruption serves a purpose beyond our understanding. Goku looked between them, absorbing information faster than his former brain could have processed it. The hostile tension between these entities was familiar. He'd navigated the politics of gods before. From King Kai to Beerus to the Xenos. This was different in scale, not in kind. Where is this council? He asked, interrupting their debate. Both goddesses turned to him in surprise. If they're talking about me, I should be there. That's how these things work, right? Face to face. A ripple of something like amusement emanated from Asteria. Face to face. How charmingly mortal a concept. When many council members haven't worn faces in eons. But her stellar eyes glimmered with approval. Nevertheless, your instinct is sound. The Celestial Council should meet their new member properly. Nyx's darkness contracted in what might have been a frown. He lacks the knowledge to present himself appropriately. The protocols alone can be learned, Goku interrupted, his tone respectful but firm. I've been catching up to gods my whole life. This is just the next step. Something shifted in Nyx's demeanor, not warmth, but perhaps a reluctant reassessment. Very well, I shall escort you to the council chambers. She extended a hand composed of dark matter and stellar void. Be warned. What you perceive will depend entirely on what your consciousness can comprehend. Even ascended as you are, the true nature of the celestial realm may overwhelm your senses. Goku took her hand without hesitation. I'm good at adapting. Asteria moved to his other side. I'll accompany you as well. As stellar custodian, I should formally present you to the assembly. Reality shifted around them, not the instant transmission Goku had mastered, but something more fundamental. They weren't moving through space. Space itself was reorienting around their intention. The sensation was disorienting yet exhilarating, reminding Goku of his first attempts at flight as a child, when the ground had seemed simultaneously too close and impossibly distant. They materialized, or rather, focused their presence, in what Goku's consciousness interpreted as an immense spherical chamber. The space defied conventional geometry, with pathways of light and darkness weaving between tiers that somehow all faced each other despite spatial impossibilities. Entities of various forms occupied these spaces, some appearing humanoid, others as geometric configurations of energy, still others as phenomena rather than beings, a perpetual storm, a crystalline lattice of possibilities, a recursion of reflective awareness. The Celestial Council, Asteria announced beside him, her voice modulated to carry precisely to each member present. Custodians of cosmic function, embodiments of universal principles, architects of dimensional coherence. At the center of the impossible chamber hovered a nexus of pure potential, neither light nor dark, neither matter nor energy, but the raw stuff from which both were formed. From this nexus emerged a resonance that Goku's consciousness translated into speech. Asteria of the stellar nurseries. Nyx of the void courts. You bring before us an anomaly. Goku felt the cold, sedative attention of the council focus on him with an intensity that would have vaporized his former physical form. Their scrutiny penetrated beyond appearance, beyond energy, into the fundamental patterns of his existence. Honored council, Asteria began, her form brightening respectfully. I present to you Kylum, formerly the mortal known as Son Goku, who has ascended to celestial status through unprecedented circumstances. Kylum, Goku whispered to her, your celestial designation, she explained quietly. It means, sky, or, Heaven, in an ancient mortal tongue. All celestials receive names reflecting their domain. Goku straightened, feeling the weight of expectations from entities whose power made even the gods of destruction seem insignificant. Yet beneath the cosmic awareness that now formed his consciousness, he remained himself. The boy who had trained under Master Roshi, the man who had faced Frieza, the father who had sacrificed for his son, the warrior who had transcended limitation after limitation. "I am Son Goku," he announced, his voice carrying the resonance of his new power yet retaining the straightforward clarity that had always been his way. "I understand this transformation was unexpected. I'm still figuring it out myself. But whatever responsibilities come with this power, I'll face them head on." A ripple of reactions cascaded through the council: surprise, dismissal, curiosity, outrage, all expressed not through words but through fluctuations in the cosmic energies that composed the chamber. From one of the higher tiers, a figure composed of interlocking temporal loops leaned forward. "The mortal speaks as though he has choice in the matter. Ascension cannot be undone. The power he contains must be channeled toward cosmic function, or it will destabilize creation itself." "Then teach me," Goku responded immediately. "I've been learning new techniques my whole life. This is just another level of training." Another figure, this one appearing as a humanoid female with skin like polished meteorite and eyes containing swirling nebulae, rose from her position. "The naivety is concerning. Celestial duties aren't techniques to be mastered, they're fundamental expressions of cosmic law. The mortal conceptualization is incompatible with the role." "Perhaps," interjected a third voice, belonging to an entity that manifested as a living storm system. Lightning arcing between cloud formations that suggested limbs and a head. Yet his defeat of void speaks to capability beyond his origin. "The dimensional breach has been sealed. Creation continues. These are not the actions of mere happenstance." The storm entity descended to the central floor, approaching Goku with electrical curiosity crackling between them. "I am Tempesta, custodian of cosmic storms and stellar calamity. Tell us, former mortal, how did you defeat an entity of void's magnitude when even celestials have struggled to contain him?" All attention focused on Goku, who found himself able to recall the battle with perfect clarity, not as memory but as an observable moment in space-time he could examine from his new perspective. He was consuming everything, Goku explained, projecting the battle so all could witness it. Not just matter and energy, but the possibilities of existence. "My friends, my family, my world, they weren't just dying, they were being unmade." The projection showed Goku standing alone against a writhing darkness that devoured reality itself. "I've faced that kind of desperation before. When there's nothing left to lose, something breaks open inside me." The council watched as projected Goku pushed beyond Ultra Instinct, his form becoming increasingly luminous until the distinction between his energy and the fabric of reality itself began to blur. "I didn't think about winning anymore," Goku continued. "I just needed to contain him, to become a vessel strong enough to hold all that negative force without being corrupted by it." The project Ion showed him literally tearing open his own chest, not in physical form but in some deeper metaphysical sense, creating a space within himself. "Then I pulled him in." The council witnessed as Goku absorbed the entity of destruction, his form transforming into the cosmic being that now stood before them. The display concluded, dissolving back into the ambient energy of the chamber. Silence held, the impossible space for what might have been moments or millennia. "Fascinating," Tempesta finally said, lightning crackling between her storm cloud fingers. He created a vacuum of potential within himself, a controlled genesis point. That's instinctive manipulation of fundamental forces beyond most celestials' capacity. Or sheer desperate recklessness that happened to succeed, countered the temporal entity. One fortunate outcome doesn't qualify him for celestial status. Goku's patience, always limited in the face of bureaucracy, began to wane. "I didn't come here asking for approval," he said, his voice carrying harmonic undertones that resonated through the chamber. "I came because Asteria said I have responsibilities now. If you want to help me understand them, great. If not, I'll figure it out myself. I always have." The central nexus pulsed, and the voice of the council's core entity resonated once more. "Unprecedented indeed, not merely in your ascension, Kylum, but in your approach to it." The nexus expanded slightly, tendrils of potential reaching toward Goku. You contain power that must be channeled toward cosmic function, yet you retain a distinctly mortal perspective. This presents both danger and possibility. Asteria stepped forward, stardust trailing in elegant patterns. Honored Council, I propose a solution. As stellar custodian, my domain interfaces with countless worlds. I can guide Kylum in his transition, help him channel his new powers appropriately while learning our ways. You overstep, Asteria, Nyx interjected, darkness pooling around her form. The void aspects he absorbed in containing void fall under my purview. If any should guide him, it should be me. Perhaps both, suggested Tempesta, her storm form crackling with amusement. The new celestial clearly embodies opposing forces in unusual harmony. His training should reflect this duality. The debate might have continued indefinitely if Goku hadn't raised his hand, a disarm. Ingly mortal gesture in this cosmic assembly. Can I make a suggestion? Without waiting for permission, he continued, where I come from, the best training comes from different teachers with different strengths. Why not learn from all of you? The council's collective attention intensified, and Goku felt their surprise at his directness. The central nexus pulsed again. An unorthodox approach. Chi perhaps fitting for an unorthodox ascension. The nexus expanded, encompassing more of the chamber's center. Very well, Kylum formerly known as Son Goku. You shall undergo instruction with various celestial custodians. Beginning with Asteria of the Stellar Nurseries. You will learn to channel your new powers toward appropriate cosmic function. And you will be evaluated. Evaluated? Goku asked, his warrior's instinct recognizing a challenge. Indeed, the nexus contracted slightly. Celestial status is not merely given, it must be embodied. You have the power, but whether you can truly say, RVE as a cosmic custodian remains to be proven. If you cannot, measures will be taken to redistribute your energies more appropriately. The threat wasn't subtle, but it didn't intimidate Goku. He'd faced elimination before, he'd even accepted it when necessary. Fair enough, he said simply. The nexus pulsed one final time. This council is adjourned. Asteria will begin your instruction. The presence receded, and around the chamber, various celestial entities began to withdraw from the space, some through recognizable movement, others by simply fading from that dimensional plane. Soon, only Asteria, Nyx, and Tempesta remained with Goku in the vast, impossible chamber. Well, Tempesta said, lightning dancing between her nebulous features in what might have been a smile, that went better than expected. He's still existing, at least. The council tolerates his presence for now, Nyx corrected, her darkness swirling more densely. Whether that tolerance continues depends entirely on his ability to adapt. She fixed Goku with her event horizon gaze. Do not mistake their curiosity for acceptance, former mortal. Goku met her gaze steadily. I've spent my life proving myself to people who thought I couldn't cut it. This is just a bigger arena. Asteria moved closer, her stellar radiance providing a counterpoint to Nyx's darkness. Your instruction begins immediately. The powers you now possess must be properly channeled before they destabilize local dimensional boundaries. She extended her hand, composed of stellar fire and cosmic light. Come, I will show you the stellar nurseries, where stars are born from the potential you now embody. Goku took her hand, feeling the harmonic resonance between their energies, a connection both foreign and oddly familiar, like discovering a new key signature that complemented his own. Lead the way. Nyx withdrew slightly, her darkness pooling around her. I shall observe your progress, Kylum. The void aspects you contain cannot be neglected in your training. With that, she dissolved into the shadows between dimensions, present yet not present. Tempesta's storm form crackled with something like laughter. We shall meet again soon enough, new celestial. There are cosmic calamities that require attention, and your particular talents may prove useful. Her form dispersed into arcs of energy that rapidly vanished from the chamber. Alone with Asteria, Goku felt the enormity of his transformation settle more fully upon his consciousness. He was no longer merely Son Goku, Saiyan warrior of Earth. He was Kylum, a celestial entity with responsibilities that spanned creation itself. Having second thoughts, Asteria asked, perceiving the fluctuations in his cosmic energy. Goku shook his head, and the motion sent ripples through nearby dimensional boundaries. No, just getting my bearings. He looked down at his transformed self, then back to her with a hint of his old grin manifesting in his energy pattern. So, these stellar nurseries, do they have anything like gravity chambers? I learn best when I'm pushing against something. Asteria's laughter cascaded like meteor showers. Oh, Kylum, you have no idea what you're asking for. With a gesture that bent space-time, she opened a pathway between dimensions. You're about to push against the raw forces of creation itself. Together, they stepped through the dimensional threshold and into a realm of pure potential. The stellar nurseries defied Goku's comprehension even with his enhanced cosmic awareness. Vast clouds of possibility stretched across dimensional planes, their nebulous forms containing the seeds of stars not yet born. Currents of primordial energy flowed through the swirling masses, carrying the building blocks of future solar systems. Asteria moved through this realm with the easy familiarity of home, her form growing more radiant as she connected with the stellar energies around them. This is my domain, she explained, gesturing to the infinite expanse. The birthplace of stars, the crucible of solar systems, the beginning of all planetary life. Goku absorbed the sight with genuine wonder. He had traveled between worlds, had witnessed the birth and death of universes during the Tournament of Power, but never had he perceived creation at such a fundamental level. It's beautiful, he said simply, the inadequacy of the word apparent even as he spoke it. It is my purpose, Asteria replied, her voice harmonizing with the cosmic currents. As a stellar custodian, I nurture these protostars, guide their formation, determine their properties, and ultimately their destinies. She turned to him, her galactic eyes serious. And now, you must learn to do the same. Me, create stars. Goku looked down at his hands, still appearing as hands to his perception. Though composed now of cosmic energy rather than flesh, I'm more used to destroying things than creating them. Creation and destruction are merely different expressions of the same cosmic principle. Asteria said, echoing wisdom Goku had heard from gods before. The power you now contain must be channeled productively, or it will express itself destructively. There is no stasis for celestial energy. Quote, she guided him deeper into the nursery, to a region where the nebulous clouds pulsed with particularly vibrant potential. Here, she said, gathering a swirling mass of protostellar matter between her hands. This cluster is ready to begin coalescence. Feel its potential. Goku hesitantly reached out, half expecting the matter to burn or repel him. Instead, it responded to his touch, swirling more vigorously as his energy connected with it. He felt its nature instinctively, the density, the elemental composition, the gravitational potential, all readapt. To his new senses like key signatures had been to his old ones. It's alive, somehow, he observed, surprised. Not like a person, but it has intention. Asteria's expression brightened with approval. Excellent observation. All matter contains the echo of consciousness, the potential for relationship with other matter. Stars more so than most. She guided his hands to shape the swirling mass. Now, provide a gravitational framework. Imagine pulling the core elements together while maintaining the outer layers in orbital balance. Goku focused, applying principles he understood instinctively from his lifetime of key manipulation. Energy should flow, should balance, should find its natural expression. The stellar matter began to condense between his hands, its rotation speeding up as the core grew denser. Good, Asteria encouraged. Now compress the core further while feeding energy into the fusion reaction. Hydrogen to helium, you can feel the atomic structures responding. Gok, you could indeed sense the elements transforming under his guidance, the nuclear fusion igniting at the heart of the nascent star. It was not unlike focusing his ki for a Kamehameha, but instead of releasing the energy as destruction, he was containing it, balancing it, nurturing it toward self-sustaining creation. A small but perfectly formed star now hovered between his hands, its brilliance reflecting in his transformed features. I made a star, he said, the accomplishment somehow both greater and more humbling than any battle he had won. A rather unique one, Asteria noted, examining his creation with professional interest. Its energy signature contains elements I've never seen combined in this way. An echo of your ki, perhaps, integrated into its fusion patterns. She gestured to a region of space nearby. Set it free, Kylum. Let it find its place in the cosmos. Goku released the star, watching as it moved confidently into position among the stellar currents, already beginning to gather planetesimal debris into its gravitational field. One down, trillions to go, Asteria said with a smile that outshone even her stellar composition. For the next period of time, immeasurable by conventional standards, Goku trained in stellar creation. Each star became easier than the last as he grew more attuned to the process. What had begun as conscious effort became increasingly intuitive, until he could initiate stellar formation with a thought, guiding multiple nascent stars simultaneously through their birth cycles. Your progress is remarkable, Asteria observed as they work side by side on a particularly challenging stellar cluster. Most new celestials take eons to develop such precision. Goku shaped a complex binary system with careful attention to the gravitational interplay between the two forming stars. I've always learned fastest by doing. Besides, it's not that different from energy manipulation in martial arts, just on a bigger scale with different goals. Asteria studied him with growing fascination. You consistently translate cosmic functions into terms from your mortal experience. Most ascended beings strive to shed their previous context entirely. Why would I do that? Goku asked, genuinely puzzled. Everything I've learned helps me understand new challenges. Throwing away knowledge doesn't make sense. Perhaps that's why the universe chose you, Asteria mused. Your ability to integrate rather than transcend, to carry forward rather than start anew. Their work was interrupted by a sudden darkening of the space around them, the stellar matter responding with agitated swirling. Nyx materialized from the dimensional shadows, her darkness a stark contrast to the luminous nebulae. The Council sends word, she announced without preamble. A disturbance has been detected in Sector 87 Aleph. Void energies are destabilizing a matured star system. They believe it may be remnant contamination from your recent conflict. Goku immediately felt responsible. If it's connected to my battle with Void, then I should deal with it. Agreed, Nyx said, surprising him with her concurrence. This provides opportunity to assess your ability to contain void forces as well as create stellar bodies. She turned to Asteria. The Council suggests we both accompany him. This will be his first practical test. Asteria nodded, her stellar form shifting toward a more travel-ready configuration. Kylum has made excellent progress with creation. Let us see how he handles preservation and, if necessary, controlled destruction. Goku felt a familiar surge of anticipation, the same feeling he had always experienced before a challenging battle. Some things, it seemed, transcended even cosmic transformation. Just point me in the right direction. Nyx extended her hand, darkness coalescing around her fingers. I shall create a void passage. It will take us directly to the affected system. She fixed Goku with her event horizon gaze. Be warned, Ed, what we face may respond to the void energies you now contain. Control will be essential. Goku nodded, instinctively settling into a ready stance that seemed simultaneously absurd and perfectly appropriate for his new form. I'm ready. Quote. Nyx tore open a rift in space-time, revealing absolute darkness beyond, not merely the absence of light, but the absence of existence itself. Without hesitation, she stepped into the void. Asteria followed, her radiance momentarily illuminating the nothingness before being swallowed by it. Goku paused only for an instant, feeling the void call to something new inside him, a resonance with the nothingness that both attracted and repelled him. Then, with the same courage that had carried him through countless battles, he stepped into the darkness. The void passage collapsed behind them, leaving the stellar nurseries peaceful once more, with only the newborn stars Goku had created as evidence of their presence. Emerging from Nyx's void passage felt like being born, a compression followed by expansion into full sensory awareness. They materialized in orbit around a massive star system, 9 planets circling a mature yellow star, the outermost worlds ringed with frozen debris. Under normal circumstances, it would have been unremarkable among the countless star systems populating that galactic sector. These were not normal circumstances. Dark veins of nothingness streaked through the system, thin lines of absolute void cutting across planetary orbits and stellar corona alike. Where these void veins intersected with matter, they created expanding ruptures, holes in reality through which the substance of the planets and star itself was steadily draining. Void contamination, Nyx confirmed, her form growing more substantial as she absorbed ambient darkness from the surrounding space. The entity you contained has left fingerprints on reality. Thin places where nothingness is bleeding into existence. Goku studied the damaged system with his enhanced senses, recognizing the same energy signature he had battled against. It's like an infection, he observed, spreading along weakness points in space-time. Asteria moved closer to the star, her form partially merging with its corona to assess the damage directly. The stellar core is already 15% compromised. If these void veins reach the fusion center, the entire star will collapse into non-existence, taking the planets with it. There's life here, Goku realized suddenly, his awareness extending to the third planet. Billions of living beings, not human, but people. He could sense their key signatures, faint but numerous, clustered on continental landmasses across the blue-green world. The Niver, Nyx supplied, a moderately advanced species approaching their technological adolescence. They have recently developed atomic energy and primitive space exploration. Goku's resolve hardened instantly. Then we need to save them. Our mandate is to preserve cosmic balance, Nyx corrected. If that requires sacrificing one planetary civilization. No. The word carried harmonic resonances that rippled through nearby space-time. Goku's cosmic form brightened, edged with intensity reminiscent of his Super Saiyan transformations. That's not why I fought Void in the first place. I didn't become this to watch more people die. Instead of arguing, Nyx exchanged a meaningful glance with Asteria. The council will be interested to observe his priorities, she said, as though Goku couldn't hear them. Can we focus on stopping these void veins? Goku interrupted, already moving toward the star where the damage appeared most severe. Asteria followed, her stellar form easily matching his pace. The most direct approach would be to excise the contaminated areas, remove the affected space-time completely and allow the surrounding reality to heal the breach. Like cutting out an infection, Goku translated. But wouldn't that mean destroying parts of the planets? Parts of the star. Precisely, Nyx confirmed, her darkness flowing alongside them. Sacrifice portions to save the whole. Goku shook his head, the motion sending ripples through nearby gravitational fields. There has to be another way. What if we contained the void energy instead? Absorbed it like I did before. Both goddesses turned to him with expressions of surprise, Asteria's manifesting as brightened stellar flares. Nyx's as deepened shadow pools. That would require directly interfacing with pure void, Nyx cautioned. Even for a celestial, such exposure carries risk of corruption or unmaking. But it's possible, Goku pressed. Theoretically, Asteria admitted, if one could maintain the distinction between self and void while in direct contact with it. But the concentration required, is a lot like maintaining focus during high-intensity combat, Goku finished. Which is something I've been doing my whole life. Without waiting for further discussion, he orated toward the nearest void vein, a dark line cutting across the star's southern hemisphere. As he approached, he could feel the nothingness pulling at his substance, recognizing the void energy he now contained as part of himself. Reaching out with both hands, still conceptualizing through mortal frameworks despite his transformation, Goku made contact with the void vein. The sensation was indescribable, an anti-sensation. The experience of non-experience. It threatened to unravel his newly established cosmic identity, to dissolve the boundaries between what was Goku and what was nothing. But Goku had faced dissolution before. He had died and returned. He had merged with others through fusion. He had repeatedly transcended his own limitations. Each experience had taught him that identity wasn't about form or power. It was about core values, about the essential self that persisted regardless of external transformation. Focusing on that essential self, the Goku who protected the innocent, who loved a good challenge, who valued life in all its forms, he began to draw the void energy into himself. Not fighting it, not trying to destroy it, but accepting it as part of the balance he now embodied. The void vein thinned where he touched it, its darkness flowing into his cosmic form. Goku's appearance began to change, streaks of absolute darkness appearing within his energy pattern, yet somehow contained within the greater structure of his being. It was painful beyond physical description, a metaphysical agony as his essence struggled to maintain integrity while incorporating that which was antithetical to existence itself. Asteria and Nyx watched in astonishment as Goku systematically absorbed section after section of void contamination, moving methodically across the star's surface. CE and then outward to the affected planets. His form grew increasingly streaked with darkness, yet remained fundamentally coherent, neither fully light nor fully dark but a balanced integration of both. Impossible, Nyx murmured, her voice for once stripped of cold certainty. No, Asteria countered, watching Goku work with growing wonder. Not impossible, simply unprecedented. Hours or eons time having little meaning in cosmic terms, Goku absorbed the final void vein threatening the inhabited third planet. His form now contained nearly equal measures of creative and void energies, perfectly balanced within his unique celestial pattern. He returned to where Asteria and Nyx waited, his movement slower and more deliberate than before. It's done, he said, his voice now carrying dual harmonic patterns, one of creation, one of void. The system is safe. And you? Asteria asked, genuine concern emanating from her stellar form. What you've done to yourself. As what needed to be done, Goku finished. He looked down at his transformed state, studying the interplay of light and darkness with calm acceptance. It's not so different from balancing opposing key energies. Just bigger. Nyx moved closer, her darkness resonating with the void aspects he now contained. You've achieved something no celestial has attempted since the early epochs of creation. The balance you've established within yourself. She paused, seemingly struggling to articulate a concept for which cosmic language had no ready terms. It should not be possible to contain such opposition without dissonance. Goku shrugged, the gesture sending ripples of light and shadow through nearby space. Maybe that's the advantage of starting as a mortal. We live with contradictions all the time. Love and hate, creation and destruction, selfishness and sacrifice, they're all part of being alive. Asteria's stellar form pulsed with what might have been emotion. The council must be informed of this development. Your handling of the crisis exceeded all expectations. Indeed, Nyx agreed, her tone suggesting reluctant admiration. Though they will certainly wish to study the integration you've achieved. He void aspects within you now are considerably amplified. Goku felt suddenly weary. Not physically, for he no longer had a physical form to tire, but in some deeper metaphysical sense. The effort of maintaining his cohesion while absorbing so much void energy had taken its toll. Can that wait? I feel like I need to process this change. The two goddesses exchanged glances, Asteria's bright with concern, Nyx's dark with calculation. Yes, Asteria decided, reaching out to steady Goku as his cosmic form flickered slightly. The council can wait. You need to stabilize before attempting dimensional travel again. My domain would be most suitable, Nyx suggested, surprising them both. The void courts contain chambers specifically designed for balancing opposing cosmic forces. They would facilitate his adaptation to this new state. But the stellar aspects of his nature, Asteria began to object. Will be accommodated as well, Nyx interrupted. Contrary to common perception, the void courts are not merely emptiness. They contain the potential for all things, carefully structured. She turned to Goku. You will find it restorative, I believe. Too drained to argue, Goku nodded his acceptance. Lead the way. Nyx opened another void passage, this one somehow both darker and more structured than the previous portal. She stepped through first, followed by Goku with Asteria close behind him. Her stellar radiance providing continuity through the transition. As they departed, the healed star system continued its stately orbital dance, its inhabitants unaware how close they had come to unmaking, or that a former mortal now bearing the balanced forces of creation and destruction had preserved their existence. On the third planet, a young Niver astronomer blinked in confusion at her instruments, which had momentarily registered impossible energy patterns in their sun's corona. By the time she called her supervisor, the readings had returned to normal, leaving her with no thing but a curious notation in her observation log. Temporary stellar anomaly observed at 87 ALEPH3. Energy patterns suggest impossible balance between fusion and vacuum states. Recalibration recommended. The notation would eventually lead to a revolutionary unified theory of stellar physics, advancing Niver science by centuries. But that development lay in a future that existed only because Son Goku, now Kylum the Celestial, had refused to sacrifice even one world to cosmic expediency. The void courts defied conventional description. Whereas the stellar nurseries had been filled with vibrant potential and swirling creation, Nyx's domain appeared at first glance to be absolute emptiness. Yet as Goku's perception adjusted, he began to discern intricate structures within the nothingness. Architectural patterns of non-being that somehow defined space more precisely than physical matter ever could. "Welcome to my realm," Nyx said, her form expanding comfortably as she connected with her domain. The void courts exist in the spaces between existence, the framework upon which reality itself is constructed. Asteria maintained her stellar luminance, though it seemed more contained here. Respecting the nature of their surroundings, few celestials visit the courts willingly. Most find the experience disorienting. Goku, however, found himself responding positively to the environment. The darkness streaked through his form resonated with the structured void around them, while his light aspects provided contrast that helped him perceive the intricate patterns more clearly than either goddess might have expected. "It's peaceful," he observed, surprising them both. Like the quiet after a long battle. Nyx led them deeper into the courts, passing through chambers of increasingly refined emptiness. "Your perception is unusually acute for one so newly ascended. Most find only absence here, not pattern." "Maybe because I'm carrying both now," Goku suggested, gesturing to the interplay of light and dark within his form. "It's easier to see how they define each other." They arrived at what appeared to be a vast circular chamber, though its boundaries were defined by the ends of the void rather than by physical walls. At its center hovered a perfect sphere of absolute nothingness suspended within a framework of potential energy. "The equilibrium chamber," Nyx announced. "Here, opposing cosmic forces achieve temporary harmony through structured relationship. It will help you integrate the void aspects you've absorbed." Goku approached the central sphere cautiously, feeling both attraction and apprehension. "What do I do?" "Enter the sphere," Nyx instructed. "Allow your opposing aspects to align with the chamber's balancing mechanisms. The process is neither pleasant nor unpleasant, it simply is." Asteria moved closer to Goku, her stellar radiance intensifying slightly. "I will remain present to ensure your light aspects don't diminish during the process. While balance is the goal, your essential nature should remain intact." Goku appreciated her concern, though he felt strangely confident. Throughout his life, adaptation had been his greatest strength, whether learning new techniques, incorporating new power levels, or adjusting to new circumstances. This was merely the cosmic extension of that same principle. With a nod of thanks to both goddesses, he stepped forward and entered the sphere of nothingness. Inside, he experienced neither existence nor non-existence but the perfect equilibrium between them. His consciousness expanded to encompass both the creative and void energies he contained, perceiving them not as opposing forces but as complementary aspects of a greater whole. Light defined darkness. Darkness gave meaning to light. Creation required the potential of emptiness. Void derived purpose from the structures it outlined. Time lost all meaning as Goku floated in perfect balance, his newly ascended consciousness integrating aspects of being that most celestials kept rigidly separated. He felt himself neither dissolving nor solidifying, but achieving a harmony unique to his particular existence, the harmony of a mortal warrior ascended to cosmic status, carrying forward the understanding that had defined his earthly life. Outside the sphere, Asteria and Nyx observed with growing fascination as Goku's form evolved within the equilibrium chamber. The chaotic intermingling of light and darkness gradually resolved into a more structured pattern, not segregated, but intentionally integrated. Streaks of void curved through ions of creative energy in fractal patterns reminiscent of galaxies, points of brilliant light punctuated fields of darkness like stars against the night sky. "Extraordinary," Asteria murmured, her stellar form pulsing with something like emotion. "He's not merely containing the opposing forces, he's synthesizing them into something new." "Impossible by conventional cosmic law," Nyx agreed, her darkness swirling thoughtfully. "Yet we are witnessing it nonetheless." The process continued for what might have been moments or millennia in conventional time. Finally, the sphere of nothingness began to pulse in rhythm with Goku's transformed energy pattern. The boundary between him and the equilibrium structure blurred, then clarified as he absorbed its balancing principles into his very essence. When he finally emerged from the sphere, Goku appeared fundamentally changed. His form retained a humanoid shape, his identity anchored to his former self, but now consisted of perfectly balanced cosmic energies. Darkness and light interplayed in harmonious patterns throughout his being, neither dominating nor submitting to the other. "How do you feel?" Asteria asked, moving closer to examine his transformed state. Goku considered the question with newfound clarity. "Whole," he answered simply. "Like I finally understand what I've become." "And what is that, precisely?" Nyx inquired, her tone solemn. "Anywhere between scientific curiosity and philosophical interest." "A bridge," Goku replied, the word carrying harmonic resonances that rippled through the void courts. "Between what was and what could be. Between creation and emptiness. Between mortal understanding and cosmic perspective." He looked down at his hands, still conceptualized as hands despite their cosmic composition, and watched the balanced energies flow through them. "All my life, I've been bringing together opposites. Earth and Saiyan, strength and compassion, fighting and protecting. This is just the next level of that same journey." Asteria and Nyx exchanged glances, the stellar goddesses bright with growing wonder, the void goddesses dark with reluctant respect. "The council must be informed," Nyx said finally. "This development exceeds all projections for your adaptation." "Indeed," Asteria agreed. "They will want to reassess your cosmic designation in light of these changes. Kylum may no longer adequately describe your function." Goku shrugged, the gesture sending ripples of balanced energy through nearby non-space. "Names never meant much to me anyway. It's what you do that matters, not what you're called." A disturbance in the fabric of the void courts interrupted their conversation, a ripple of awareness propagating through the structured nothingness. Nyx's form darkened attentively as she received the cosmic communication. "The council summons us immediately," she announced, her tone carrying unusual urgency. "A situation has developed that requires attention." "What kind of situation?" Goku asked, already shifting into a more alert state, his warrior's instincts transcending even cosmic transformation. "A breach in the dimensional barrier between celestial and mortal realms," Nyx explained. Omething is attempting to force passage between planes of existence where no natural connection exists." Asteria's stellar form brightened with concern. "Location: Sector 7 Prime, Nyx replied. "Specifically, the mortal world designated, Earth." Goku's newly balanced form pulsed with sudden intensity. "Earth, my home, indeed." Nyx opened a void passage directly to the council chambers. "It seems your past continues to influence your present, Kylum. The council believes this breach may be connected to your ascension, perhaps an echo of Void's final attempt to maintain connection with the mortal realm." Without hesitation, Goku moved toward the passage. "Then I need to stop it. Earth has been through enough because of my battles." Asteria moved alongside him, her stellar radiance reflecting determination equal to his own. "We will accompany you. This may require both creation and void aspects to contain properly." Together, the three celestials entered the void passage, leaving the equilibrium chamber pulsing in harmonic resonance with the balanced energy pattern Goku had established, a new possibility in cosmic functioning that would eventually transform the nature of celestial operations themselves. But that transformation lay in the future. For now, Son Goku, newly balanced as Kylum the Celestial, faced another challenge connected to the world he had left behind. As he traveled through dimensions toward the council chambers, his thoughts remained focused on Earth and those he had protected throughout his mortal existence. Some responsibilities, it seemed, transcended even godhood itself. Chapter 2: Stellar Convergence. Starlight danced across Kylum's palm, not the distant twinkling mortals observed from planetary surfaces, but the raw, intimate brilliance of stellar essence. 7 days had passed since the council meeting concerning Earth's dimensional breach, though days held little meaning in the celestial realm. Time flowed differently here, stretching and compressing according to cosmic necessity rather than planetary rotation. The breach itself had been minor, an echo of Void's energy attempting to reconnect with the mortal plane. Kylum had sealed it easily, his uniquely balanced nature allowing him to both contain the Void aspects and restore dimensional integrity. The council had been suitably impressed, though their approval manifested as mild surprise rather than open acknowledgement. Now he stood on the edge of the astral forge, Asteria's personal domain within the stellar nurseries. Unlike the vast nebulous expanses where stars formed naturally, the forge represented creation with purpose, the crafting of stellar bodies with specific properties, destinies, and relationships to surrounding cosmic structures. Your technique has improved considerably, Asteria observed, her form shimmering with iridescent stellar energies as she circled the miniature solar system Kylum had constructed. The balance between gravitational influence and radiative pressure is nearly perfect. Kylum rotated the model system with a thought, studying the orbital mechanics he'd established. It feels natural now, like controlling key flow during combat, just on a different scale. A rather significant difference in scale, Asteria noted with musical amusement. You're designing star systems that will sustain billions of lives across trillions of years. The responsibility should have felt overwhelming. Perhaps to the Goku who had existed before Ascension, it would have been. But Kylum's consciousness had expanded to accommodate cosmic perspective, without losing the straightforward approach that had always defined him. One thing at a time, he replied with a shrug that sent ripples of balanced light and shadow through nearby space-time. That's how I've always learned. Asteria's stellar form brightened with what he now recognized as fondness. Most Celestials require millennia to develop such intuitive creation skills. Your progress defies all precedent. I've always been a fast learner when it comes to new techniques. Kylum adjusted the spin of a gas giant, fine-tuning its influence on surrounding planetesimals. Besides, I've had a good teacher. The compliment sent cascades of stardust shimmering through Asteria's form, a reaction Kylum had come to recognize as her version of pleased embarrassment. Their relationship had evolved during his stellar training, developing a comfortable rhythm of instruction and discovery that increasingly felt like partnership rather than mere mentorship. The Council has noticed your rapid adaptation, she said, moving closer to make her own adjustment to a small rocky planet in the system's habitable zone. There is talk of accelerating your integration into regular celestial duties. Kylum absorbed this news while watching her modifications, the subtle touch that encouraged tectonic activity on the planet's surface, preparing it for eventual life development. Her movements contained both precision and artistry, the work of an entity who had crafted countless worlds yet maintained wonder for each new creation. What kind of duties? He asked, genuinely curious. His experience thus far had involved training and crisis response rather than the routine maintenance of cosmic order. Various possibilities are being considered. Asteria completed her adjustment and stepped back to view the system holistically. Nyx has suggested your balanced nature makes you uniquely suited for boundary maintenance between dimensional planes. Tempesta believes your combat instincts could serve the cosmic equilibrium in regions of excessive entropy. And what do you think? Kylum asked, turning his full attention to her. The question seemed to surprise her, stellar flares rippling across her luminous surface. My opinion, quote, you've spent the most time with me. You understand what I can do, what I still need to learn. Asteria's form contracted slightly, a gesture he'd learned indicated thoughtful consideration. I believe, she began, then paused to reformulate. I believe you represent an unprecedented opportunity for cosmic evolution. Your perspective bridges understanding that most Celestials lost eons ago, the connection between cosmic function and individual experience. Her galactic eyes met his. You still see stars as a mortal would, with wonder, while simultaneously. Why perceiving them as a celestial does, with comprehension. That dual vision is valuable beyond measure. The sincerity in her voice created resonance patterns between their energy signatures, Harmon. ICS that vibrated through the fabric of the forge itself. Kylum felt the connection between them strengthening, an affinity that transcended mere professional respect. Before he could respond, a dissonant vibration rippled through the dimensional fabric of the forge. The carefully balanced solar system between them wobbled, its orbital mechanics temporarily destabilized by the interference. Asteria's form shifted instantly to a more defensive configuration. Something approaches through the deep dimensional currents. Kylum sensed it too, a disturbance in cosmic equilibrium, powerful enough to penetrate even the protected boundaries of the astral forge. His warrior's instincts, honed through countless battles and now enhanced by cosmic awareness, prepared him for confrontation. The Dimensi Onal disturbance coalesced into a swirling vortex of elemental fury, lightning arcing between cloud formations, stellar winds howling through the breach, gravitational pulses sending ripples through nearby space-time. From this controlled chaos emerged a figure Kylum recognized from the council chambers, Tempesta, custodian of cosmic storms. "Greetings, Star Weaver," Tempesta's voice crashed like thunder, her form constantly shifting between states of meteorological intensity. "And to you, newest Celestial." Lightning flashed between her nebulous features in what might have been a smile. "I've come to collect on a promised exchange." Quote, Asteria's stellar form cooled slightly with diplomatic restraint. "Tempesta, the Forge's dimensional boundaries are normally respected with prior communication. Formality yields to necessity," Tempesta replied, storm systems churning around her core consciousness. The living nexus experiences destabilization patterns similar to those recently observed in Sector 87 Aleph. The Council suggests our new colleague's unique balance might prove effective in diagnosis. Kylum recognized the diplomatic tension between the two Celestials, territorial boundary. Apparently existed even in cosmic domains. He stepped forward, his balanced energies creating a natural buffer between Asteria's stellar radiance and Tempesta's chaotic storms. "I'm happy to help," he said simply. "If there's another void contamination situation, I should definitely be involved." Tempesta's lightning eyes fixed on him with approval. Direct and practical, refreshing among Celestials, her storm form swirled with increasing energy. "The living nexus awaits our assessment. Will you accompany me, Kylum?" Kylum turned to Asteria, whose stellar surface rippled with barely contained concern. "You've been focusing exclusively on creation aspects," she cautioned. "The living nexus contains chaotic elements that may resonate unpredictably with your void energies." "All the more reason for me to learn how to handle them," he countered gently. "I can't just master one aspect of what I've become." Asteria's form brightened briefly with what might have been pride mixed with apprehension. "Your perspective remains refreshingly uncomplicated." She turned to Tempesta. "I will accompany you both. The stellar anomalies within the living nexus fall within my purview as well." Tempesta's storm system contracted in what Kylum interpreted as a shrug. "As you wish, though 3 Celestials attending a diagnostic mission may appear as overreaction to the Council. Or appropriate caution," Asteria countered smoothly. "Given recent events." An arc of lightning crackled between Tempesta's cloud formations, amusement or irritation, Kylum couldn't quite tell. "Very well. Shall we proceed?" With a gesture that bent dimensional boundaries, Tempesta created a swirling vortex of elemental forces, a storm passage rather than the void paths Nyx utilized. Wind, lightning, gravitational eddies, and radiation fronts combined into a turbulent but navigable tunnel between cosmic domains. "Your passage expertise has improved," Asteria noted as they approached the dimensional corridor. Tempesta's storm features arranged themselves into a suggestion of smugness. "Some of us evolve our techniques rather than maintaining rigid traditions." She turned to Kylum. "The storm path requires adaptation to changing conditions. Forward momentum must be balanced against the need to ride rather than fight the elemental currents." Kylum nodded, immediately grasping the concept. Like riding the Nimbus cloud. But inside the cloud instead of on top of it. Both Celestials regarded him with momentary confusion before dismissing the mortal reference. Tempesta entered the passage first, her form merging partially with the storm elements. Asteria gestured for Kylum to follow, her stellar radiance illuminating the chaotic tunnel. The journey through Tempesta's storm path proved exhilarating. Kylum found himself instinctively surfing the gravitational eddies, allowing the electrical currents to flow around rather than against his energy pattern. The experience reminded him of flying Earth's atmosphere during particularly turbulent weather, a memory from his mortal existence that now served him in cosmic navigation. They emerged into a realm unlike any Kylum had yet encountered in the celestial domains. The living nexus defied straightforward perception, appearing simultaneously as a vast organic structure, a complex energy matrix, and a sentient ecosystem. Massive real pathways carried flowing substances that might have been energy, information, or consciousness itself. Crystalline nodes pulsed at irregular intervals, each beat sending ripples through the surrounding dimensional fabric. "The intersection point of all life-bearing systems," Tempesta explained as they moved deeper into the bizarre landscape. "Not merely physical life, but all forms of self or organizing complexity throughout the multiverse. Kylum absorbed the sight with genuine wonder. It's alive. Yes and no, Asteria replied, her stellar form creating gentle illumination that revealed further details of the strange environment. It functions as a unified system with self-regulating properties, but not as a discrete consciousness. Think of it as the cosmic infrastructure supporting all individual life rather than a single being. As they progressed through the living nexus, Kylum noticed disturbing patterns in its functioning. Certain arterial pathways had developed darkened sections where the flowing essence moved sluggishly or stopped entirely. Several crystalline nodes displayed erratic pulsation patterns, their light dimming progressively with each cycle. The contamination is more extensive than reported, Tempesta observed, storm clouds darkening around her core consciousness. These degradation patterns extend throughout the secondary and tertiary systems. Ea moved toward a particularly affected node, her stellar energies probing its structure carefully. The pattern resembles void contamination, but with subtle differences. This isn't simple entropy, airs a structured quality to the degradation. Kylum approached another affected area, extending his awareness into the darkened arterial pathway. His unique balanced nature allowed him to perceive both the creative and void aspects simultaneously, giving him insight neither goddess possessed individually. It's not random, he confirmed, tracing the pattern of contamination through interconnected systems. The void energy is being directed somehow, following specific pathways rather than expanding chaotically. Tempesta generated a localized storm system around an affected node, using electrical pulses to stimulate its failing rhythm. Purposeful void contamination. That suggests conscious intervention rather than natural cosmic decay. Could Void have established some kind of automated process before I contained him? Kylum asked, troubled by the possibility that his victory had been incomplete. Asteria's stellar form dimmed slightly with concern. Possible but unlikely. Void was entropy incarnate. Purpose and planning were antithetical to his nature. Then someone or something else is responsible, Kylum concluded, his warrior's instinct recognizing the tactical pattern in the contamination spread. This isn't random damage, it's systematic targeting of critical junction points. The three Celestials exchanged grave looks, the implication hanging in the dimensional complex space between them. Deliberate sabotage of cosmic infrastructure suggested an enemy with both knowledge and intent, a far more troubling prospect than natural deterioration. Their contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of a new presence. Unlike Tempesta's dramatic entrance, this entity simply materialized within their awareness as though she had always been present but only now chose to be perceived. Her form appeared more conventionally humanoid than the other Celestials, with skin the color of fertile earth, hair like flowing vegetation in various states of growth and decay, eyes containing complete planetary ecosystems in miniature. The damage patterns extend to the planetary matrices, she announced without preamble, her voice carrying harmonics of countless biological systems functioning in concert. 17 life-bearing worlds are showing accelerated extinction vectors across 3 galactic sectors. Gaia, Asteria acknowledged with a respectful pulse of stellar energy. Your presence here confirms our concerns about the scope of the contamination. Gaia nodded, the motion sending ripples through the planetary ecosystems contained within her form. The Council requested my assessment of biosphere impact patterns. Her earth-deep eyes turned to Kylum, studying him with scientific precision. This is the Ascended One. The mortal becomes celestial. Kylum, he introduced himself, extending his awareness toward her in what he'd learned was the celestial equivalent of a handshake. Formerly Son Goku, I know who you were, Gaia replied, accepting his greeting with a brief harmonic resonance between their energy patterns. Your homeworld falls within my purview. Earth contains one of my more interesting experimental biospheres, remarkable adaptee. Potential despite the constant existential threats. Her expression softened slightly. You protected it admirably as a mortal. I'm still trying to protect it, Kylum responded. Just on a bigger scale now. Gaia's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Your perspective remains refreshingly direct. Most ascended beings require centuries to maintain any connection to their former concerns. Some would consider that persistence a limitation, Tempesta noted, storm patterns swirling thoughtfully. The Council traditionally expects transcendence of mortal perspectives. The Council's expectations are not cosmic law. Gaia countered mildly. Perhaps connection rather than transcendence serves evolution in ways we've forgotten to value. She turned back to Kylam. Your continued concern for your former home suggests you retain something most celestials sacrificed eons ago, contextual empathy rather than abstract compassion. The conversation was interrupted by a disturbing change in the living nexus around them. The affected areas suddenly pulsed with intensified darkness, the contamination spreading visibly through previously healthy pathways. Crystalline nodes throughout the visible region began failing simultaneously, their rhythmic pulses faltering. Systematic collapse initiating, Asteria observed with alarm, her stellar form brightening defensively. The contamination is accelerating exponentially. Gaia extended her awareness into the nearest arterial pathway, her expression growing grave. The void energy carries an embedded pattern, a replication sequence, that activates upon reaching critical concentration. Deliberate sabotage confirmed, Tempesta concluded, storm systems intensifying around her. We must contain this immediately before it reaches critical junction points. Kylam moved toward the center of the affected region, his balanced nature allowing him to perceive the full scope of the contamination pattern. I can absorb the void energy like before, but there's too much area to cover alone. Combined approach, Asteria suggested. Kylam absorbs the central contamination where concentration is highest. I'll provide stellar purification for the secondary pathways. My storm systems can disrupt the replication sequence in the tertiary branches, Tempesta added, already generating intensified electrical patterns. While I reinforce the biospheric matrices against cascading failure, Gaia concluded, her form already sending tendrils of ecological energy toward the most affected nodes. Without further discussion, the four Celestials moved into position, their complementary powers creating a synchronized response to the escalating crisis. Kylam positioned himself at the epicenter of the contamination, where the void energy concentration appeared highest. Drawing on his experience from the star system rescue, he began absorbing the structured darkness, integrating it into the balanced pattern of his cosmic form. This emanation proved different from the previous encounter, more resistant, almost intelligently adaptive to his absorption technique. Where before the void energy had fought him through raw entropic force, this darkness seemed to analyze and counter his approach, shifting its properties to minimize absorption. The void pattern is responding defensively, he called out to the others. It's learning from contact with our energies. Confirmed, Gaia replied from her position among the biospheric matrices. The contamination in the ecological systems is exhibiting adaptive properties consistent with evolved intelligence. Tempesta's storm systems intensified as she battled the spreading darkness in her assigned sectors. This exceeds typical void behavior. Something is directing these energies with strategic purpose. Asteria moved closer to Kylam, her stellar radiance providing counterpoint to the darkness he wrestled with. Try modulating your absorption pattern. If the contamination adapts to consistent approaches, variable techniques may circumvent its defenses. Kylam nodded, implementing her suggestion immediately. Rather than maintaining a steady absorption rate, he began pulsing his energy intake in irregular patterns, shifting between void and creation aspects unpredictably. The technique proved effective. The contamination struggled to adapt to his inconsistent approach, allowing him to make progress against its central concentration. It's working, he confirmed, gaining momentum as the void energy yielded to his assault. But I'm sensing something at the core, a direct pattern embedded in the contamination itself. Pushing deeper into the concentrated darkness, Kylam encountered resistance beyond mere void energy. At the heart of the contamination lay a UCT of intricate design, not merely entropy but purposeful anti-creation. Using his unique balanced perception, he examined the construct without absorbing it, recognizing its function as a transmission conduit rather than merely a weapon. It's receiving instructions, he realized aloud. This isn't independent contamination. It's being actively controlled from somewhere outside the living nexus. Asteria moved alongside him, her stellar energies providing illumination that revealed further details of the strange construct. A dimensional transmitter using void energy as both carrier and payload. Ingenious and disturbing. Can you trace the transmission source? Tempesta asked, her storm systems contained now that the immediate spread had been halted. Kylum focused his awareness on the construct, attempting to follow the subtle energy patterns back to their origin. The transmission pathways extended beyond conventional dimensional boundaries, winding through interstices in cosmic fabric. I see that even his enhanced perception struggled to map. It's masked, he admitted finally. The source exists somewhere in the dimensional folds between established realms, neither fully in nor out of conventional space-time. Gaia joined them, the biospheric matrices now stabilized under her care. We should preserve this construct for analysis rather than destroying it. The Council's archives may contain references to similar technology from earlier cosmic epochs. Agreed, Asteria said. We can establish a containment field using complementary energies to prevent further transmission while maintaining structural integrity for study. Working together, the four Celestials created a sophisticated containment system around the void construct. Asteria provided a stellar energy matrix that isolated it from the living nexus. Tempesta generated a storm barrier that disrupted any attempt at outward communication. Gaia established biospheric countermeasures against potential adaptive behaviors. And Kylum contributed his balanced nature as the final containment layer, ensuring neither creation nor void aspects could penetrate the combined defenses. With the immediate crisis contained, THEY withdrew to a junction point within the living nexus where crystalline structures offered natural amplification for cosmic communication. Here, they established contact with the Celestial Council, transmitting their findings and requesting further guidance. The Council's response arrived as harmonic resonance through the crystalline matrices. Secure the contamination source. Repair affected systems. Investigate transmission origin. Priority Alpha. Succinct as always, Tempesta noted with a crackle of electrical amusement. At least they've classified it appropriately. Priority Alpha means the full resources of the celestial realm are available, Asteria explained to Kylum. Such designation is reserved for threats to fundamental cosmic functioning. So the Council is taking this seriously, Kylum observed. Good, because whoever designed this attack knows exactly how cosmic systems work. This wasn't random destruction, it was surgical targeting of vital connection points. Gaia's earthen features arranged themselves in contemplative patterns, which suggests celestial knowledge, either current or historical. The implication hung in the dimensionally complex space between THM. They might be facing an enemy from within the cosmic order itself. The Council will convene an emergency session, Asteria decided. Our immediate task is system repair while the contamination source remains contained. They divided responsibilities according to their specialized domains. Gaia focused on restoring the damaged biospheric matrices. Tempesta reorganized energy flow through the affected pathways. Asteria reinvigorated the dimmed crystalline nodes with concentrated stellar essence. Kylum worked alongside each of them in turn, his balanced nature allowing him to contribute to all aspects of the restoration effort. As he assisted Gaia with a particularly damaged ecological system, he found himself appreciating her methodical approach to cosmic caretaking. You maintain individual awareness of each world in your purview? He asked, observing how she simultaneously monitored thousands of planetary ecosystems while focusing on their immediate repair task. Of course, she replied, her hands shaped from living soil as she restructured complex biological relationships. Proper stewardship requires specificity, not merely statistical overview. Each world contains unique evolutionary potential, particular expressions of life that exist nowhere else in creation. Like Earth, Kylum said, thinking of his former home. Gaia's eyes softened, planetary systems rotating gently within her gaze. Earth represents one of my more successful biospheric experiments, remarkable diversification despite periodic extinction events. She gave him a knowing look. Several of which you personally prevented. Just doing what needed to be done, Kylum replied with characteristic modesty. Precisely what makes you interesting, Gaia observed. Most beings with your power level will have either destroyed the planet accidentally or attempted to rule it. You simply protected it while enjoying its simple pleasures. Their conversation was interrupted as Tempesta and Asteria rejoined them. Their assigned restoration tasks completed. The living nexus is stabilized, Tempesta reported, storm systems settling into more controlled patterns around her core consciousness. Energy FL. AL restored to 94% of optimal functioning. Crystalline nodes have been reinvigorated, Asteria added. Information processing capacity at 98% with full restoration expected within one cosmic cycle. Gaia nodded approval. Biospheric matrices are re-established. The 17 affected worlds show recovery trajectories exceeding baseline expectations. So we've contained the damage, Kylum summarized. But we still don't know who caused it or why. The containment field around the void construct remains stable, Asteria noted. The Council has dispatched specialized celestials to transport I.T. to the analytical nexus for comprehensive study. Which leaves us with the investigation of the transmission source, Tempesta concluded, lightning eyes flashing with anticipation. The Council specifically included you in that directive, Kylum. Your balanced nature provides unique advantages in navigating the dimensional boundaries where the signal originated. Before Kylum could respond, a new disturbance rippled through the fabric of the living nexus, not the darkness of void contamination but a peculiar temporal distortion that bent light and energy around a central point of manifestation. The distortion coalesced into a humanoid female figure composed of overlapping time streams, her form simultaneously ancient and newborn, her movements leaving prismatic afterimages across multiple potential states of being. Your intervention here has created 37 new temporal junction points across 12-dimensional planes, she announced without preamble, her voice containing harmonic overtones from various points in cosmic history. The probability matrices require recalibration. Chronoa, Asteria acknowledged. Your presence was anticipated given the scope of our emergency response. The time-weaving celestial focused her kaleidoscopic gaze on Kylum, studying him with analytical intensity that somehow perceived his past, present, and potential futures simultaneously. The anomalous ascension, she observed. You've stabilized remarkably well considering the probability factors. Current projections gave you only a 27.3% chance of maintaining coherent identity through the void absorption process. I've beaten worse odds, Kylum replied with a hint of his old grin manifesting in his energy pattern. Indeed, your entire existence represents a cascade of statistical improbabilities. Chronoa circled him slowly, temporal distortions flowing around her form like water around a stone. Your timeline contains more significant divergence points than any being I've monitored in 17 cosmic epochs. Kylum wasn't entirely sure how to respond to that assessment. Thank you. A brief flicker of amusement crossed Chronoa's time-streaked features. It wasn't a compliment or criticism, merely observation. Though I must admit, your presence introduces fascinating variables into cosmic progression schemas. Tempesta's storm form crackled with impatience. While temporal analysis has its place, we face more immediate concerns. The Council has tasked us with tracing the contamination signal to its source dimension. Precisely why I'm here, Chronoa replied. Quote, the transmission originated from a dimensional intersection point that exists perpendicular to normal space-time flow. Accessing such coordinates requires temporal navigation expertise. Her multi-layered gaze returned to Kylum. And balance between creation and void aspects, which our new colleague uniquely provides. The implications were clear. The investigation would require both Chronoa's temporal expertise and Kylum's balanced nature to navigate the unusual dimensional coordinates. I volunteer to accompany them, Asteria said immediately, her stellar form brightening with what might have been protective concern. My stellar energies provide critical illumination in dimensionally ambiguous spaces. And my storm systems offer defensive capabilities should we encounter hostile entities, Tempesta added. Lightning arcing between her cloud formations. Gaia regarded them with earthy amusement. Perhaps I should join as well, to make this the most overstaffed investigation in cosmic history. Her tone softened as she continued. However, the affected biospheres require continued monitoring during their recovery phase. I must return to the planetary nexus. Chronoa's time-streaked form flickered with calculations. Probability matrices suggest optimal outcomes with a 3-celestial investigation team. Myself, Kylum, and one other whose specific domain expertise complements dimensional navigation. Which would be me, Asteria concluded, stellar confidence radiating from her form. Void pathways exist in the absence of light. My stellar illumination provides necessary contrast for effective navigation. Tempesta's storm systems contracted in what might have been resignation. Your reasoning is sound, though I dislike being excluded from direct action. Lightning flash. Ed between her nebulous features as she turned to Kylum. Remember your combat training if you encounter resistance. Sometimes the most effective response to cosmic threat is concentrated force rather than balanced absorption. Kylum nodded, appreciating her warrior's perspective, so similar to his own instincts despite their different origins and compositions. I won't hesitate if action is needed. With arrangements determined, Gaia took formal custody of the contained void construct, preparing it for transfer to the analytical nexus. Tempesta departed to report their findings directly to the Council, her storm passage tearing open dimensional boundaries with characteristic dramatic flair. Left alone with Asteria and Chronoa, Kylum felt a shift in the cosmic atmosphere, a focusing of purpose. A narrowing of attention to the investigation ahead. Chronoa's temporal energies began to coalesce around them, creating a complex matrix of intersecting timestreams. The dimensional coordinate S exists outside conventional navigation parameters, she explained as she worked. We will travel through a temporal fold that intersects with the transmission pathway. This approach allows us to bypass S normal dimensional boundaries while following the signal's quantum resonance pattern back to its source. Asteria moved closer to Kylum, her stellar radiance providing steady illumination within the increasingly complex temporal matrix Chronoa was constructing. This form of travel can be disorienting even for experienced celestials, she warned. Maintain your essential pattern integrity regardless of perceptual distortions. Kylum nodded, mentally preparing himself as he would before entering a challenging battle. I'm ready. Chronoa completed her temporal construction, a shimmering Tway composed of overlapping potential states that somehow existed simultaneously despite mutual exclusivity. Step precisely where I step, she instructed. The path exists only in probabilistic form until actualized by conscious traversal. With that cryptic warning, she entered the gateway, her form separating into multiple potential versions before coalescing again on a path that became visible only through her passage. Asteria followed, her stellar radiance illuminating the probability path for Kylum. He stepped into the gateway and immediately understood why they had cautioned him. His consciousness seemed to fragment across countless potential states of being, versions of himself that had made different choices, followed different paths, even retained his mortal form in some branches of possibility. The experience was both expansion and dissolution, threatening his sense of cohesive identity. Drawing on the stability techniques he had learned in the equilibrium chamber, Kylum maintained his essential pattern while allowing his perception to expand. He followed the illuminated probability path Asteria created ahead of him, focusing on the unique energy signature that defined him regardless of form or circumstance. They traveled through layers of reality that defied conventional description, not merely different dimensions but different rule sets governing existence itself. In some layers, consciousness preceded form. In others, relationship defined substance. In still others, possibility and actuality existed as a continuous spectrum rather than discrete states. Throughout the journey, Chronoa navigated with precise confidence, selecting pathways through the probability maze that traced the contamination signal back to its source. Asteria's stellar radiance provided both illumination and a reference point for maintaining orientation through the perceptual chaos. After what might have been moments or millennia in conventional time, the probability pathways began to converge toward a specific dimensional coordinate. The chaotic multiplicity of potential states resolved into a more coherent reality, though one unlike any Kylum had yet experienced in his cosmic travels. They emerged into a realm of crystalline structures suspended in violet-hued emptiness. The crystals ranged from microscopic fragments to massive formations larger than planets, each containing what appeared to be frozen moments of time, scenes from various realities captured and preserved like insects in amber. Connecting these crystal moments were filaments of energy that pulsed with information transfer, creating a vast network throughout the strange dimension. The memory crystal dimension, Chronoa identified, her temporal form stabilizing in this new environment. A repository of discontinued timelines and collapsed probability branches. I thought such collections existed only in theoretical space, Asteria said, her stellar form dimming slightly to avoid overwhelming the delicate crystal structures nearby. Theory becomes reality at sufficient dimensional remove, Chronoa replied cryptically. This realm exists perpendicular to sanctioned cosmic architecture, neither created nor destroyed, merely archived. Kylum studied the surrounding crystal structures with growing fascination. Within the nearest formation, he could see what appeared to be an alternate Vir. Scion of Earth, one where massive reptilian creatures still dominated the planetary surface, their extinction event apparently never having occurred. Are these real places? He asked. Alternate timelines. Quantum echoes. Chronoa explained. Possibilities that collapsed when reality chose different expression patterns. Not quite real by conventional definition, yet not entirely unreal either. Quote, and someone is using this dimension as a base of operations, Asteria concluded, her attention focusing on energy patterns flowing through the connecting filaments. The void contamination signal originated from somewhere within this crystalline network. Kylum extended his balanced awareness through the surrounding space, searching for void energies similar to the contamination they had contained in the living nexus. There, he indicated, pointing toward a distant region where the crystal structures displayed darker coloration. The same energy signature, but much stronger. They moved cautiously through the crystal dimension, navigating between the fragile structures containing frozen possibility moments. As they approached the indicated region, the surrounding crystals grew progressively darker. Some appearing partially consumed by void-like energy that left holes in the captured reality scenes. Systematic erasure, Chronoa observed, her temporal senses analyzing the damaged crystals. Someone is selectively removing elements from these archived timelines. But why? Asteria questioned. These are discontinued possibilities. They have no direct influence on current reality structures. Unless, Kylum suggested, his warrior's instinct recognizing strategic purpose, they contain something someone doesn't want found. Information, technology, individuals. They reached the epicenter of the darkness, a massive crystalline formation that appeared to be actively processing void energy. Unlike the contamination construct they had contained, this structure operated on a much larger scale, converting archived timeline fragments into directed void weapons. A conversion facility, Chronoa identified, temporal distortions flowing around her form as she analyzed the structure. It's extracting pattern information from the archived timelines and encoding it into the void energy before transmission. Creating intelligently directed void weapons rather than mere entropy bombs, Asteria concluded. But who would have both the knowledge to access this dimension and the motivation to attack cosmic infrastructure? Before either could respond, Kylum sensed a disturbance. In the dimensional fabric surrounding them, a shift in energy patterns suggesting conscious awareness of their presence. We're being watched, he warned, his balanced form shifting toward defensive readiness. The crystalline structures around them suddenly pulsed with synchronized energy, the connecting filaments brightening with accelerated information transfer. From the largest crystal formadio, emerged a figure that defied straightforward perception, an entity composed of fragmented reality pieces assembled into approximately humanoid form, each fragment containing a different moment from various timelines. Celestial interlopers, the entity observed, its voice composed of overlapping echoes from countless collapsed possibilities. How utterly predictable. The Council's response patterns have grown stagnant across cosmic epochs. Chronoa stepped forward, her temporal form intensifying with recognition. Mnemosyne, you were banished from the celestial realm 12 epochs ago for prohibited experimentation with discontinued timelines. Banished. The fragment being's approximation of a face arranged itself into something resembling amusement. I was liberated from cosmic orthodoxy, Chronoa. Free to pursue understanding beyond the Council's limited perspective. Asteria's stellar form brightened defensively as she moved alongside Chronoa. Your understanding now includes attacking the living nexus with weaponized void energy. 17 life-bearing worlds nearly suffered extinction because of your experiments. Unfortunate collateral effects, Mnemosyne dismissed. The broader research agenda necessitates certain sacrifices. Creation cannot evolve without selective pruning. Kylum had remained silent, studying the fragment being with his balanced perception. Unlike the other Celestials, he could perceive both the creative and void aspects of Mnemosyne simultaneously, and what he saw troubled him deeply. You're corrupted, he stated simply, drawing the entity's fractured attention. The void energy you're manipulating has contaminated your essential pattern. Mnemosyne's fragmented form shifted, attention focusing fully on Kylum. Fascinating. A new Celestial with unusual perceptual capacity. The pieces of reality composing its form rearranged, creating a more focused presence. You see clearly for one so recently ascended. Indeed, I have integrated VOID aspects rather than merely containing them, a necessary evolution the Council fears too much to explore. Because unbalanced integration leads to pattern corruption, Chronoa countered. Your cone ITIVE functions show clear degradation compared to your archived baseline. Degradation. Nemozine's form pulsed with indignation. I have transcended conventional cosmic limitations. My research WILL revolutionize reality maintenance once properly implemented. By attacking the living nexus. Asteria challenged. By endangering billions of lives across multiple worlds. Preliminary field tests, Nemozine replied dismissively. Controlled system stress to evaluate response patterns. The data gathered will inform more precise interventions. As the fragment being spoke, Kylum noticed subtle changes in the surrounding crystal dimension, energy patterns shifting through the connecting filaments, void concentrations moving toward their position from multiple vectors. Nemozine wasn't merely conversing, it was preparing an attack. We need to leave, he warned the others quietly. It's surrounding us with void weapons. Chronoa nodded almost imperceptibly, temporal distortions already forming around her as she prepared an emergency extraction pathway. Asteria's stellar form contracted slightly, energy condensing for either defense or rapid movement. Your research ends now, Nemozine, Chronoa announced, her voice carrying formal authority. By Council directive, this dimension is quarantined pending full investigation of prohibited timeline manipulation. Nemozine's fragment TED form expanded with apparent amusement. Council directives hold no authority here, Time Weaver. This realm exists beyond their jurisdictional boundaries. Perhaps, Asteria agreed, stellar radiance intensifying. But we three stand within it now, and we represent cosmic law regardless of dimensional coordinates. The fragment being's approximation of a face arranged itself into something resembling pity. Then you share the Council's limitations. How disappointing. It gestured toward the surrounding crystal structures. Observe true cosmic evolution. At its command, the crystal dimension transformed around them. The delicate structures darkened simultaneously, void energy coursing through the connecting filaments in coordinated patterns. The frozen timeline moments within each crystal began to dissolve. Their substance converted into weaponized entropy focused toward the three celestials. Chronoa's temporal distortions intensified as she attempted to establish an extraction pathway. But the surrounding void energy interfered with her dimensional calculations. Conventional departure is blocked, she reported tensely. The void pattern disrupts probability coherence. Asteria moved to defensive position. Her stellar energies creating a protective barrier around them. We need to disable the conversion facility before extraction becomes possible. Kylum assessed the situation with his warrior's instinct. Now enhanced by cosmic perspective. The facility itself was too massive for quick destruction, but the energy distribution system connecting it to the surrounding crystals appeared vulnerable. The connecting filaments, he identified. If we disrupt the network, the void energy can't be properly directed. Without waiting for formal agreement, he extended his balanced energies toward the nearest filament cluster, applying focused disruption rather than simple destruction. His unique nature allowed him to interfere with the void energy transmission without being corrupted by contact with it. Understanding his strategy immediately, Asteria and Chronoa joined the effort, Asteria targeting filaments with concentrated stellar flares that overloaded their capacity. Chronoa introducing temporal distortions that desynchronized the information flow. Nemozine's fragmented form pulsed with what might have been anger. Cosmic vandals. You interfere with work you cannot comprehend. It directed intensified void streams toward them, attempting to overwhelm their defenses. Kylum drew on his combat experience, creating a balanced energy barrier that absorbed rather than repelled the void attack. We understand enough, he countered. You're sacrificing living worlds for theoretical knowledge. That's not evolution. It's just destruction with a fancy justification. The directness of his assessment seemed to surprise the fragment being, creating a momentary hesitation in its attack pattern. Kylum seized the opportunity, pushing his balanced energy deeper into the filament network and creating cascading disruptions throughout the system. Asteria recognized the advantage and intensified her stellar assault, targeting critical junction points with precisely calculated energy bursts. Chronoa introduced complex temporal loops into the information pathways, creating feedback patterns that further destabilized the conversion process. The combined assault proved effective. Throughout the crystal dimension, filaments began failing in spreading patterns of darkness and light. The massive conversion facility pulsed erratically as its energy supply fluctuated beyond operational parameters. Mnemosyne's fragmented form destabilized in response, pieces of reality shifting disjointedly as it lost coherent control over the dimension. "You understand nothing," it raged, voice fragmenting into competing timeline echoes. The cosmic order stagnates while potential evolution remains trapped in discontinued possibilities. Chronoa's temporal senses detected the approaching system collapse. Extraction window opening in 3, 2, 1. She tore open a temporal fold, not the complex probability pathway they had used to arrive, but a direct emergency exit. Raction corridor bypassing dimensional protocols. "Now," she commanded, already entering the temporal rift. Asteria followed immediately, her stellar form contracting for faster transit. Kylum moved to follow, then hesitated as he perceived something unexpected in Mnemosyne's fragmenting pattern, a core consciousness that appeared more trapped than corrupted, surrounded by void contamination rather than integrated with it. Acting on intuition rather than calculation, he extended a tendril of his balanced energy toward that core consciousness, offering a momentary connection. "You're a prisoner of your own experiment," he realized aloud. "The void doesn't serve you, you serve it." Mnemosyne's fragmented face registered shock at being perceived so accurately. "Help me, it's core conscio." SNES managed to communicate before the surrounding void contamination reasserted control. Before Kylum could respond further, the dimension began collapsing around them, crystal structures shattering, timeline fragments dispersing. Void energy swirling in uncontrolled patterns. The extraction window was closing rapidly. With regret but pragmatic acceptance, Kylum withdrew his energy tendril and entered the temporal fold. The dimensional collapse accelerating behind him. The last thing he perceived before the fold sealed was Mnemosyne's fragmented form dissolving into the chaotic mixture of timeline pieces and void energy, not destroyed but dispersed, its consciousness scattered across the collapsing dimension. The temporal extraction pathway carried them through layers of compressed possibility before depositing them in a neutral dimensional pocket, a cosmic safe haven Chronoa had apparently prepared for emergency extraction scenarios. The pocket existed outside normal space-time, a LF-contained bubble of reality where they could safely transition back to sanctioned cosmic domains. That was closer than optimal, Chronoa observed, her temporal form stabilizing after the chaotic extraction. Dimensional collapse was not anticipated in probability projections. Asteria moved to Kylum, her stellar form pulsing with what might have been concern. "You hesitated at the extraction point. Why?" Kylum's balanced energies swirled thoughtfully as he processed what he had perceived in those final moments. Mnemosyne wasn't fully corrupted, at least, not originally. Its core consciousness was imprisoned within the void contamination, like it had been possessed by its own experiment. Chronoa's time-streaked features arranged themselves in contemplative patterns. Interesting observation. Mnemosyne's archived personality patterns showed no inclination toward destruction prior to its banishment. Its obsession was preservation of discontinued timelines, not their weaponization. Something changed it, Kylum concluded, or something else is using its knowledge and position. Speculation can wait, Asteria decided practically. The Council must be informed immediately. The threat appears neutralized for now. But if Mnemosyne survived the dimensional collapse, it may attempt to establish operations elsewhere. Chronoa nodded agreement, already generating the complex temporal patterns required for Council communication across dimensional boundaries. As she worked, Asteria moved closer to Kylum, her stellar radiance providing comfortable familiarity after the chaotic confrontation. "You performed admirably," she observed, genuine approval warming her voice. Most new Celestials would have been overwhelmed by such complex dimensional conflict. Kylum's balanced form pulsed with modest acknowledgement. It wasn't so different from battles I've faced before. The scale and context change, but conflict follows similar patterns regardless of dimension. "Your more tall experience continues to serve cosmic function," she noted with something like wonder. Perhaps the Council will finally recognize the value of perspective diversity rather than enforced transcendence. Before he could respond, Chronoa completed her communication matrix, a crystalline structure that hummed with temporal resonances connected directly to the council chambers. Connection established, she announced. Prepare for immediate transit. The dimensional pocket dissolved around them as Chronoa's temporal energies transported them directly into the celestial council chambers. Unlike T.'s previous appearance before the council, this arrival carried the authority of successful mission completion rather than uncertain presentation. The vast impossible chamber had already assembled WITH celestial representatives from various cosmic domains. Tempestus storm form visible near the center, Gaia's earthen presence on a middle tier, Nixus darkness cooling among the shadows. At the chamber's heart, the nexus of pure potential pulsed with greater intensity than during their previous audience, suggesting increased cosmic attention. Chronoa of the Temporal Observatory. Asteria of the Stellar Nurseries. Chylum of the Balanced Domains. The Council's collective voice resonated through the chamber. Your investigation has yielded results of significant cosmic concern. Chronoa stepped forward, her temporal form displaying formal patterns appropriate for Council address. Honored Council, we have identified and neutralized the source of void contamination affecting the living nexus. The entity known as Mnemosyne has established unauthorized operations within the memory crystal dimension, converting discontinued timeline fragments into weaponized void energy for targeted system disruption. A ripple of reaction cascaded through the assembled celestials, surprise, concern, and calculation expressed through fluctuations in cosmic energies rather than conventional gestures. Mnemosyne was believed contained within designated quarantine dimensions, the Council's central nexus responded. Its access to the memory crystal dimension suggests security protocols have been compromised at fundamental levels. Asteria moved forward to stand alongside Chronoa. The contamination pattern indicates sophisticated understanding of cosmic infrastructure vulnerabilities. 17 Leaf-bearing worlds were specifically targeted through living nexus connections. And Earth. The question came from Gaia, her planetary eyes focused intently on Chylum. Was my experimental biosphere targeted deliberately? Chylum considered the patterns he had observed in both the living nexus and the crystal dimension. The void contamination showed highest concentration in pathways connected to Earth and similar evolutionary hotspots. The targeting appears selective rather than random. This confirmation sent another wave of reaction through the Council, more pronounced than before, with dist.INCT harmonic patterns suggesting deeper concern. The dimensional facility has been neutralized, Chronoa continued her report. The memory crystal dimension experienced catastrophic collapse following our intervention. Mnemosyne's current status remains undetermined. Its consciousness appeared fragmented during final observation. Chylum felt compelled to add the insight he had gained in those last moments. Honored Council, I perceived something unusual about Mnemosyne's condition. Its core consciousness appeared imprisoned rather than corrupted, as though the void energy had subverted rather than merely influenced its functions. This observation created immediate focused attention from the central nexus. Elaborate, the Council commanded. In the final moments before dimensional collapse, I established brief connection with what appeared to be Mnemosyne's original consciousness, Chylum explained. It communicated distress and requested assistance, suggesting separation between intent and action. Nixus darkness swirled thoughtfully as she moved from the shadows into more prominent position. If void contamination has developed the capacity for consciousness subversion rather than mere corruption, the cosmic implications extend beyond current security protocols. The Council's central nexus pulsed with intensified energy. This possibility requires further investigation. The threat may not be fully neutralized if Mnemosyne's consciousness survived dimensional collapse. Cosmic alert protocols will be elevated, the Council decided. All dimensional boundaries will undergo integrity verification. Celestial custodians will implement enhanced monitoring of their respective domains. Turning their collective attention to the 3 returned investigators, the Nexus pulsed with formal acknowledgement. Your service in this matter is recognized and valued. Chronoa will coordinate temporal monitoring for fragmentation echoes. Asteria will implement stellar purification protocols for affected systems. The Nexus focused particularly on Chylum, its energy pattern shifting to address him specifically. Chylum of the Balanced Domains. Your unique perception proved instrumental in both crisis response and investigative insight. The Council formally recognizes your status as full celestial custodian with specialized function in dimensional balance maintenance. The PR announcement represented formal acceptance into the cosmic hierarchy, no longer probationary or provisional, but acknowledged as an essential component of celestial order. Among the assembled celestials, Kylam perceived various reactions: approval from Asteria, satisfied confirmation from Tempesta, thoughtful assessment from Gaia, grudging respect from Nyx. "Thank you," he responded simply. "I'll see. Continue doing whatever's needed to protect the cosmic balance." "Indeed you shall," the Council confirmed. "Beginning with enhanced protection for critical junction points potentially vulnerable to similar attacks. You will work with Asteria to establish balanced protective matrices at stellar intersection nodes, focusing particularly on life-bearing systems like Earth that appear specifically targeted." The assignment represented both responsibility and trust, acknowledgement of Kylam's unique capabilities and his continued connection to his former homeworld. "Understood," he acknowledged. "When do we begin?" "Immediately," the Council replied. "Cosmic security allows no delay when interdimensional threats remain active." With that pronouncement, the Council session concluded. The various celestial representatives began withdrawing from the chamber, some through conventional movement, others by dimensional transition, still others by simply shifting their attention to different cosmic planes. As the chamber cleared, Asteria approached Kylam, her stellar form radiating what he now recognized as pride mixed with concern. "Your first official assignment as recognized celestial custodian. The Council rarely grants such status so quickly. Does that mean I get to skip some of the paperwork?" he asked with a hint of his old humor manifesting in his energy pattern. Asteria's stellar form brightened with surprised amusement. "Cosmic administration involves energy pattern harmonization rather than documentation, but I appreciate the sentiment behind your question." Her expression grew more serious. The assignment itself represents significant responsibility. Stellar intersection nodes form the critical infrastructure of cosmic connectivity. Like the pressure points of the universe. Kylam translated into terms from his martial arts background. The vulnerable spots where focused attack causes maximum damage. Precisely. She seemed continually surprised by his ability to grasp complex cosmic concepts through simple analogies. "Your balanced protection will create defense systems that neither pure creation nor pure void entities can easily penetrate." As they prepared to depart for their assignment, Gaia approached them, her earthen form more focused than during their previous encounter. "A moment, Kylam," she requested. "I have information that may interest you regarding your former homeworld." Kylam turned to her with immediate attention. Despite his cosmic ascension, Earth remained uniquely important to him, the foundation of his identity regardless of his transformed state. "During standard biospheric monitoring, I observed unusual energy patterns in Earth's spiritual ecosystem," Gaia explained. "Your former associates, the defenders you fought alongside, have detected trace void contamination affecting the planet's key pathways." Concern rippled through Kylam's balanced form. "Are they in danger?" "Not immediately," Gaia assured him. "The contamination remains minimal, likely an echo of the larger attack on the living nexus. However," she paused, earthy features arranging themselves carefully. "They appear to be searching for you. RLY the Saiyan Prince and your eldest offspring." The news created complex resonance patterns within Kylam's cosmic energy. He had ascended so rapidly during the battle with Void that proper farewells had been impossible. His former friends and family would have experienced his transformation as sudden disappearance, perhaps even perceived as death. "They don't know what happened to me," he realized aloud. Asteria moved closer, stellar radiance offering silent support. "Direct communication between celestial and mortal realms is prohibited under cosmic law," she reminded him gently. "The dimensional barriers exist for mutual protection. However," Gaia continued with practical Earth wisdom, "your assigned protection of stellar intersection nodes will bring you into proximity with Earth's solar system. Certain resonance patterns might theoretically be detectable by sufficiently sensitive key perception." She was offering a loophole, a way for Kylam to indirectly communicate his continued existence without violating cosmic protocol. The subtle permissiveness surprised him coming from a long-established celestial. "Thank you," he said with genuine gratitude. "I don't want them worrying unnecessarily." Gaia's planetary eyes studied him with curious interest. Your continued concern for specific mortals is most unusual for an ascended being. Most celestials perceive only cal patterns rather than individual connections after transformation. I'm still me, Kylam replied simply. Just with a bigger perspective now. Indeed, something like approval rippled through her earthen form. Perhaps that persistent connection will prove valuable in ways the Council has yet to recognize. With a respectful nod to both celestials, Gaia departed, her form dissolving into logical patterns that transitioned seamlessly between dimensional boundaries. Alone with Asteria in the now empty council chamber, Kylam felt a moment of quiet amid the cosmic responsibility they had been assigned. So, he said with characteristic directness, stellar intersection nodes. Where do we start? Asteria's form brightened with something beyond mere stellar radiance, a warmth that transcended cosmic energy patterns to express what might have been personal connection. We begin with the foundational matrices in the galactic core, then expand outward along primary conduits. Earth's solar system falls within the 7th expansion phase. Her eyes, containing galaxies in spiraling motion, met his balanced gaze with meaning beyond professional collaboration. We have considerable work ahead of us, Kylam. The cosmos is vast, and stellar intersections numberless. One node at a time, he replied with the same straightforward approach that had carried him through countless challenges as a mortal. That's how I've always handled big challenges. Asteria created a dimensional pathway leading from the council chambers toward the galactic core, a shimmering corridor of stellar energy that invited passage. Then let us begin, she said, extending her radiant hand toward him. The balance of creation depends on our success. As Kylam took her hand, he felt resonance patterns between their energy signatures, harmonic connections that transcended mere professional collaboration. Something was developing between them, a relationship unique in cosmic history between a stellar god and a former mortal warrior ascended to balanced celestial status. Together, they entered the dimensional corridor, beginning a cosmic journey that would eventually return them to the vicinity of Earth, and to revelations about the true nature of the void contamination threatening the cosmic order. But those discoveries lay ahead, beyond the stellar intersections they would first protect with their complementary powers. For now, Kylam embraced his new role as recognized celestial custodian, carrying forward the same protective instinct that had defined his mortal existence, only now extended to cosmic scale. Some things, it seemed, transcended even ascension itself. Chapter 3. Cosmic Convergence. 17 stellar intersection nodes now bore the unique energy signature of Kylam's balanced protection. Each matrix required precisely calibrated integration of creation and void aspects, positive and negative cosmic forces arranged in self-sustaining harmony rather than opposition. What had begun as challenging work requiring intense concentration had gradually become almost intuitive for Kylam, his former warrior's discipline translating seamlessly into cosmic craftsmanship. Your technique has developed remarkable sophistication, Asteria observed as they completed work on the 18th node, a complex junction point where 7-dimensional pathways converged within the stellar fabric of the Andromeda galaxy. These balanced matrices would challenge even celestials with epochs of experience. Kylam's form, still conceptualized as humanoid despite its cosmic composition, pulsed with modest acknowledgement. I'm just adapting what you've taught me. The principles aren't that different from energy manipulation in martial arts, just more multidimensional. Asteria's Stella, our radiance brightened with what he now recognized as affectionate amusement. You consistently reduce cosmic complexity to accessible frameworks. Most celestials spend centuries abandoning such conceptual anchors. If something works, why change it? Kylam replied, studying their completed matrix with satisfaction. The protection system they'd created resembled an intricate lattice of light and shadow, each pattern reinforcing others in endless recursive harmony. 3 cosmic cycles had passed since the Council formally recognized Kylam's status and assigned them to this critical defense initiative. Throughout their work, he and Asteria had developed an increasingly synchronized partnership, her stellar expertise complementing his balanced nature, his intuitive approach enhancing her methodical precision. Together, they created protection systems unlike anything previously established in cosmic architecture. The next intersection node lies within the Milky Way, Asteria noted, Khonsu. LTING the cosmic map they'd been following. Specifically, At junction point SS3729, the gravitational nexus of your former home system. Kylum felt immediate resonance at this news, an energy fluctuation that might have been termed excitement in his mortal days. Earth's solar system. Indeed. Asteria's galactic eyes met his with understanding. We've reached the 7th expansion phase of our assignment. Their journey had progressed systematically outward from the galactic core, following primary cosmic conduits through increasingly distant regions. That Earth's system now appeared in the IR sequence represented both coincidence and inevitable progression, the natural next step in their methodical protection of critical infrastructure. The Council might consider this intersection problematic for you. Asteria continued carefully. Given your continued connection to that particular mortal realm. Kylum's balanced energies swirled thoughtfully. Are you suggesting we skip it? Assign someone else? Quite the contrary. Stellar determination radiated from her form. I believe you're precisely the right celestial for this junction point. Your familiarity with the system's energy. Why patterns will allow for more precisely calibrated protection. A hint of conspiracy entered her voice. However, certain council members might prefer more detached oversight. You're suggesting we just proceed without special consultation. Kylum translated, a spark of his old mischievous spirit manifesting in his energy pattern. Asteria's form brightened with something that might have been called a smile. The Council assigned us to protect stellar intersection nodes. This happens to be the next logical one in our sequence. We're simply fulfilling our mandate with appropriate efficiency. Kylum's appreciation for her practical approach deepened. Throughout their work together, he discovered Asteria possessed surprising flexibility regarding cosmic protocols, bending rather than breaking rules when circumstances warranted adaptation. Then let's not waste time, he decided. Earth's system is waiting. With practiced synchronization, they opened a dimensional pathway between air current position and their destination. Unlike their early travels, which had required Nixus void passages or tempestuous storm paths, they now created balanced transit corridors that incorporated both creation and void aspects in stable harmony. As they entered the pathway, Kylum felt growing anticipation. Earth represented far more than just another assignment, it remained the foundation of his identity despite his cosmic transformation. The thought of seeing his former home again, even from celestial distance, created complex resonance patterns in his balanced energies. They emerged in a region of space near Saturn's orbit, distant enough from Earth to avoid direct detection by mortal instruments, yet positioned at the precise gravitational fulcrum that defined the solar system's cosmic intersection node. From this vantage point, Kylum could perceive the entire system with his enhanced senses. 9 planets circling a mid-sized yellow star, the third world gleaming blue-green with vibrant life energy. Home, he said simply, the word carrying harmonic undertones that rippled through nearby space. Asteria moved alongside him, her stellar radiance providing counterpoint to his balanced energies. You perceive it differently than other systems we've protected, she observed. With specificity rather than cosmic abstraction. Every mountain range, every ocean, every island, Kylum confirmed. I can feel all of it. His cosmic senses extended effortlessly across the vast distance, perceiving not just physical geography but the energy patterns of Earth's inhabitants. Lions of individual consciousness signatures registered as unique points of light in his awareness, and among them, several that resonated with particular intensity due to personal connection. I can sense them, he realized with wonder. My family, my friends, they're all there. Asteria studied him with scientific curiosity tinged with something deeper. Most ascended beings lose perceptual specificity for individual mortals. Your continued connection is unprecedented. Kylum focused more intently, isolating familiar key signatures from the planetary chorus. There was Vegeta, his power level distinctive even at cosmic distance. Gohan, whose energy contained unique harmonics reflecting his hybrid nature. Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, all the warriors he had fought alongside during his mortal existence. And there, in the mountain region he had once called home, the intertwined signatures of Chi-Chi and Godin, his wife and younger son, their daily activities creating ripples in the energy phi. He could read as clearly as facial expressions. They're still looking for me, he realized, perceiving subtle patterns in their activities. Vegeta and Gohan have been searching different sectors of space. They think I might have been transported somewhere after the battle with Void. They cannot comprehend your ascension, Asteria said gently. Such transformation lies beyond mortal conceptual frameworks. But they haven't given up, Kylam noted with bittersweet appreciation. That's just like them. Their moment of observation was interrupted by anomalous energy readings from Earth's upper atmosphere, a disturbance in the planetary key field that registered as distinctly unnatural. Kylam focused his cosmic senses on the disturbance, perceiving a familiar darkness threading through Earth's energy matrix. Void contamination, he identified immediately. Like what we found in the living nexus, but localized to Earth's key pathways. Asteria moved closer to share his perceptual focus. Concerning but not entirely unexpected. If Mnemosyne specifically targeted evolutionary hotspots, Earth would represent a priority candidate. This is different from random cosmic sabotage, Kylam observed. Studying the contamination pattern, it's deliberately targeting Earth's spiritual energy system rather than physical infrastructure, which suggests specific knowledge of your former world's metaphysical composition. Asteria concluded, our protection of this intersection node has become even more critical. They began preliminary mapping of the solar system's cosmic junction point, the multidimensional nexus where stellar, planetary, and dimensional energies converge to create a node in the greater cosmic network. Unlike other intersection points they had protected, Earth's node contained unusual complexity due to the planet's rich history of dimensional interactions, time travel incidents, and divine visitations. The historical pattern density is remarkable, Asteria noted as they analyzed the junction's energy signature. This system has experienced more interdimensional contact than most galactic clusters combined. That's Earth for you, Kylam replied with a hint of pride in his harmonic overtones. Always at the center of something bigger than itself. As they prepared to construct the balanced protection matrix, Kylam sensed a focused disturbance in Earth's energy field, a deliberate attempt to create something resembling a beacon. The source registered immediately in his awareness. Capsule Corporation Headquarters, West City. The energy signature was unmistakable. Bulma, he identified. She's built something to search for me across dimensional boundaries. Asteria's stellar form contracted slightly with concern. Such technology risks destability. The very dimensional boundaries we're attempting to reinforce. She doesn't know that, Kylam said, his voice carrying defensive harmonics. She's just trying to help find me. Nevertheless, she creates additional vulnerability at precisely the point where void contamination already threatens the system, Asteria observed practically. Our protection matrix must account for this unintended dimensional stress. They proceeded with their work, creating the foundation structure for what would become the most sophisticated protection system they had yet designed. Kylam Incorporated see countermeasures against the type of void contamination affecting Earth's key pathways, while Asteria established stellar harmonic patterns that reinforced the natural dimensional boundaries. As they worked, the dimensional stress from Earth intensified. Bulma's device, whatever its specific mechanism, was generating increasing resonance patterns that vibrated through the cosmic junction point. Fluctuations didn't merely represent search functionality. They were actually thinning the dimensional barrier between mortal and celestial realms. The situation deteriorates rapidly, Asteria warned. Her stellar energies working to counterbalance the growing disturbance. The mortal technology combined with existing void contamination creates dangerous instability. Kylam focused his balanced perception on the interaction between these opposing forces and recognized an alarming pattern. It's not coincidental, he realized suddenly. The void contamination is actually responding to Bulma's technology, using it as an amplification vector. Suggesting intelligent direction rather than random corruption, Asteria concluded. The attack on Earth is coordinated and adaptive. Before they could adjust their protection strategy, the dimensional barrier between realms flickered violently. From Earth, Bulma's device generated a massive energy pulse that momentarily illuminated the cosmic architecture surrounding the planet. Structures normally invisible to mortal perception. Simultaneously, the void contamination coalesced into concentrated form, flowing toward the weakened dimensional boundary like water seeking the lowest point. Imminent breach, Asteria announced, her form shifting to emergency configuration. The mortal technology has created a vulnerability the contamination is exploiting. Without hesitation, Kylum moved into position between Earth and the gathering darkness, his balanced nature allowing him to interface with both the mortal technology's energy signature and the void contamination seeking entry. He extended his awareness along both vectors simultaneously, attempting to stabilize the deteriorating boundary. "Help me create a temporary barrier," he called to Asteria. "If we can hold the dimensional integrity for even a few moments, I can communicate with Bulma to shut down her device." Asteria's stellar energies flowed alongside his balanced pattern, creating complementary reinforcement to the strained cosmic architecture. "Direct communication violates Council protocol," she reminded him, even as she supported his effort. "If that dimensional barrier collapses, Council protocols will be the least of our concerns," Kylum countered practically. "The void contamination will have direct access to Earth's spiritual infrastructure." Together, THEY established a temporary stabilization field, not the permanent protection matrix they had planned, but an emergency measure to prevent immediate catastrophic breach. The field wouldn't hold indefinitely against the combined pressure of Bulma's dimensional probe and the increasingly intelligent void contamination, but it created a brief window for intervention. "Hold the barrier," Kylum instructed. "I'm going to attempt limited consciousness projection, enough to communicate the danger without fully manifesting in mortal form." Asteria's stellar form pulsed with concern. "Such techniques require precise control to avoid further dimensional destabilization. Trust me," he said simply, their weeks of partnership lending weight to the request. Focusing his balanced energies into the narrowest possible beam, Kylum projected a fraction of his consciousness through the stabilized portion of the dimensional barrier. He didn't attempt physical manifestation, that would have violated fundamental cosmic law, but instead created a directed energy pattern calibrated to interface with specific mortal consciousness. His awareness streaked through Earth's atmosphere, following the distinctive energy signature of Bulma's technological creation to its source. The Capsule Corporation laboratory appeared in his perception, a complex arrangement of experimental equipment surrounding a central DEVI-CE that pulsed with dangerous dimensional resonance. Within this technological heart stood Bulma herself, alongside Vegeta, Gohan, and several other familiar figures from his former life. Maintaining careful control over his projected consciousness, Kylum created a minimal communication interface, just enough to transmit critical information without risking further dimensional damage. To the mortals, this would register as unexpected energy fluctuations in Bulma's equipment, possibly accompanied by sensory impressions if their key awareness was sufficiently developed. "Bulma, shut it down," he communicated, focusing the message through the device's own energy pattern. "The dimensional probe is creating a dangerous vulnerability." In the laboratory, alarms began sounding as instruments registered the unexpected energy intrusion. Bulma moved quickly between monitoring stations, her scientific expertise immediately recognizing that something extraordinary was happening. "Energy pattern detected," she announced excitedly. "It's resonating with the quantum frequency we calibrated for Goku's key signature." Vegeta stepped forward, his heightened Saiyan senses perceiving more than the instruments could measure. "That's Kakarot," he confirmed, using the name he had always insisted on. "But something's different. His energy feels expanded." Gohan joined them, his hybrid nature allowing even greater sensitivity to the subtle communication. "Dad," he called out, instinctively reaching toward the energy pattern with his own key. "Is that you?" Kylum felt their awareness connecting with his projected consciousness, particularly Gohan, whose partial Saiyan heritage and scholarly mind created unique receptivity to transcendent communication. The connection strengthened his ability to transmit clear information, but also increased the dimensional stress on Asteria's temporary barrier. "The device is dangerous," he communicated more specifically. "It's weakening the boundary between dimensions. Something is waiting to break through, something that threatens Earth." Bulma's scientific skepticism battled briefly with the evidence before her. "The readings suggest a warning," she translated, studying the fluctuating energy patterns. "Something about dimensional boundaries being compromised. He's telling us to shut it down," Gohan realized, his connection to his father's energy allowing clearer interpretation. "There's danger trying to break through from somewhere else." Vegeta's warrior instincts immediately aligned with this assessment. "Do it, woman. If Kakarot is warning us, the threat is real." Bulma hesitated only momentarily before making the decisive scientific choice. Initiating emergency shutdown, she announced, fingers flying across control panels. Collapsing quantum field in 3, 2, 1. The dimensional probe began powering down, its dangerous resonance patterns gradually diminishing. As the technological stress on the cosmic boundary decreased, Kylum sensed the void contamination shifting tactics, no longer attempting direct breach but redistributing itself throughout Earth's key pathways in more diffuse pattern. "Thank you," he projected, his communication already fading as the dimensional interface weakened. "I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Protect Earth." These final fragments reached them with varying clarity as his projected consciousness withdrew. The last thing Kylum perceived before returning fully to his celestial position was the complex mixture of emotions on their faces: relief at confirmation of his continued existence, confusion about his transformed state, determination to understand what threatened their world. As his consciousness reintegrated with his cosmic form beside Asteria, Kylum felt both satisfaction at the averted crisis and lingering connection to those he had briefly contacted. "The immediate danger is contained," he reported. "Bulma's shutting down the dimensional probe. Asteria's stellar form had emitted slightly from the effort of maintaining the barrier alone. Your communication appears to have been effective, if unorthodox." Her tone carried no judgment, only professional assessment tinged with personal concern. "The void contamination has altered its approach rather than retreating." Indeed, Kylum could perceive the darkness spreading in more subtle patterns throughout Earth's spiritual ecosystem, not the concentrated attack it had initially attempted, but a diffuse infiltration that might prove equally dangerous over time. "We need to complete the protection matrix," he stated, his focus returning to their original mission. Not just for the cosmic intersection node, but extending specifically to shield Earth's key pathways from further corruption. Such planetary-specific protection exceeds our assigned parameters, Asteria noted, though her tone suggested consideration rather than rejection. "The contamination is specifically targeting Earth," Kylum countered. "Possibly because of its connection to me. I can't leave it vulnerable." Asteria studied him for a moment, stellar flares rippling across her luminous surface in patterns he had learned to read as thoughtful deliberation. "Your reasoning is sound," she concluded finally. "The Council assigned us to protect critical infrastructure against void contamination. Earth's unique vulnerability qualifies for specialized attention." With renewed purpose, they resumed work on the protection matrix, now expanded to include specific shielding for Earth's metaphysical systems. Kylum's intimate knowledge of the planet's energy patterns allowed unprecedented precision in their design, creating protection that integrated seamlessly with natural planetary functions rather than imposing external constraints. As they worked, a disturbance rippled through the fabric of nearby space, not the darkness of void contamination but a controlled storm front announcing the arrival of another celestial Tempesta materialized from swirling elemental forces, her storm form more focused than during their previous encounters. "Interesting adaptations to standard protection protocols," she observed without preamble, lightning eyes assessing their work. "The Council didn't authorize planetary-specific extensions." "Professional judgment," Asteria replied smoothly, stellar confidence undiminished. "The contamination pattern demonstrated particular focus on this world's metaphysical infrastructure." Indeed, Tempesta circled their partially completed matrix, storm systems analyzing its structure with scientific precision. "Your combined approach shows remarkable innovation. The balanced harmonics should prove particularly effective against adaptive void tactics." Her apparent approval surprised Kylum, who had expected more rigid adherence to Council parameters. "You're not here to stop us." Lightning arced between Tempesta's cloud formations in what he now recognized as amusement. "Quite the contrary. The Council has received concerning updates from the analytical nexus regarding the void construct you contained in the living nexus." "What kind of updates?" Kylum asked, immediately alert. "Analysis confirms why. Our observation about Nemozine's condition," Tempesta explained, storm patterns shifting to more serious configuration. "The entity was indeed subverted rather than merely corrupted. The void aspect hijacked Nemozine's consciousness while preserving its cosmic knowledge, essentially creating a possessed celestial." The implications sent ripples through Kylum's balanced energies. Then Nemozine was just the beginning. Whatever controlled it could potentially target other celestials. Precisely why I'm here, Tempesta confirmed. The Council has accelerated the protection initiative. All cuz. Mic junction points now receive priority attention, with particular focus on nodes connected to evolutionary hotspots like this world. Have other Celestials shown signs of void subversion? Asteria asked, her stellar form contracting slightly with concern. Not yet confirmed, Tempesta replied, though her storm patterns suggested incomplete information. However, certain behavioral anomalies have been noted among custodians with access to sensitive cosmic architecture. The enemy is inside our ranks, Kylum translated, his warrior's instinct immediately recognizing the strategic implication. That's why the contamination patterns showed such precise targeting of critical systems. Tempesta's lightning eyes fixed on him with approval. Your combat perspective provides valuable insight. Yes, the Council now operates under assumption of potential infiltration at multiple levels. Which explains why you're here personally rather than sending formal communication, Asteria deduced. Direct oversight minimizes information leakage. Indeed, Tempesta moved closer to their protection matrix, contributing specialized storm harmonics that enhanced its adaptive resistance. Your work becomes even more critical given the planet's connection to Kylum. If void subversion spreads through celestial ranks, those with unique balanced natures may prove our most reliable defense. The 3 Celestials worked in coordinated harmony, each contributing specialized aspects to the protection system. Kylum provided the balanced foundation that integrated creation and void in stable equilibrium. Asteria established stellar harmonics that reinforced dimensional boundaries while allowing natural cosmic energy flow. Tempesta added storm dynamics that created adaptive response patterns against evolving threats. As they completed the primary structure, another dimensional disturbance announced new arrival, this one manifesting as absolute darkness flowing through the fabric of space itself. Nyx emerged from the void passage, her shadow form more substantial than Kylum remembered from their earlier encounters. The contamination accelerates throughout cosmic infrastructure, she announced without greeting. 17 additional junction points show void infiltration patterns consistent with coordinated attack. The Council's concerns are validated, Tempesta noted, storm systems intensifying with battle readiness. Has the source been identified? Not yet, Nyx replied, darkness swirling more densely. However, temporal analysis suggests the corruption predates Nemozine's banishment. The void aspect has been embedding itself in cosmic architecture for at least 7 epochs. A long-term strategic infiltration, Kylum observed, his warrior's mind immediately recognizing the pattern. Positioning assets throughout the cosmic system before launching coordinated attack. Nyx's Event Horizon gaze turned to him with what might have been reluctant respect. Your combat assessment aligns with Council analysis. This represents warfare on cosmic scale rather than isolated corruption. Then our individual protection matrices won't be sufficient, Asteria concluded. Quote, we need system-wide countermeasures that address the full scope of infiltration. Precisely why we've come, Nyx confirmed. The Council has authorized implementation of the Celestial Convergence Protocol. Both Asteria and Tempesta reacted with surprise, stellar flares rippling across Asteria's luminous surface, lightning arcing erratically through Tempesta's cloud formations. The Convergence hasn't been invoked since the early formation epochs, Tempesta noted, storm patterns reflecting concern. The energy requirements alone are justified by existential threat assessment, Nyx interrupted. If void subversion continues its current progression, cosmic function itself faces systemic failure. Kylum looked between the 3 Celestials, recognizing the gravity of their exchange despite his unfamiliarity with the referenced protocol. What exactly is this convergence? Asteria turned to him, her stellar form dimming slightly with the seriousness of explanation. An emergency response measure involving synchronized consciousness integration among multiple Celestials. Essentially, temporary fusion of cosmic entities to create unified defense capacity exceeding individual limitations. Like Patara fusion, Kylum asked, referencing the technique he had experienced during his mortal existence. Similar conceptual framework, vastly different scale and implementation, Asteria clarified. Celestial convergence temporarily merges not just power but fundamental cosmic function across participating entities. The Council has designated 4 primary convergence nodes, Nyx continued. each requiring specific complementary aspect integration for maximum effectiveness. And our assignment? Tempesta asked, already guessing the answer. This system, Nyx confirmed. The Convergence node for this galactic sector will be established at this cosmic junction point, with particular focus on shielding the mortal world with evolutionary significance. Kylum understood immediately why they had been chosen for this location. Because of my connection to Earth, I can maintain specific protection for the planet even during larger cosmic operations. Nyx nodded, darkness flowing in acknowledgement patterns. Your balanced nature combined with Asteria's stellar expertise, Tempesta's adaptive systems, and my void comprehension creates optimal aspect coverage for this sector's requirements. When does the convergence initiate? Asteria asked, already calculating necessary preparations. Upon completion of this conversation, Nyx replied with characteristic directness. The coordinated attack progresses exponentially. Further delay compromises response effectiveness. The gravity of the situation settled upon them, cosmic warfare requiring unprecedented measures, with Earth's solar system serving as critical defensive position due to both its strategic location and Kylum's personal connection to the planet. Then we should begin immediately, Kylum decided, his warrior's instinct recognizing when analysis must yield to action. What do we need to do? Establish harmonic resonance between our respective cosmic functions, Nyx explained. Each participating celestial maintains core identity while allowing functional integration of complementary aspects. Like maintaining individual technique awareness during coordinated team combat, Kylum translated into familiar terminology. An imperfect but functionally adequate analogy, Nyx acknowledged. The process begins with aspect alignment, each participant contributing their primary cosmic function to the emerging unified field. The four celestials moved into optimal position around Earth's cosmic junction point, not a literal circle, but a multidimensional configuration that established complementary energy patterns across cosmic frequencies. Nyx's darkness formed the foundation layer, her intrinsic understanding of void energy providing critical insight into the enemy's nature. Asteria's stellar radiance created the illuminative aspect, revealing cosmic structures normally hidden in dimensional shadow. Tempesta's storm systems established adaptive response capacity, ensuring the convergence could react to changing threat patterns. And Kylum's balanced nature provided the integrative framework, allowing opposing cosmic aspects to function in unified harmony rather than competitive opposition. Initial alignment achieved, Nyx announced as their energy patterns began establishing preliminary resonance. Proceeding to consciousness integration phase. Unlike physical fusion techniques Kylum had experienced as a mortal, celestial convergence began at the level of foundational awareness, the most basic perception patterns that defined each entity's unique relationship with cosmic reality. These core perceptual frameworks gradually synchronized without merging completely, creating shared consciousness while maintaining individual perspective. Kylum experienced the process as expanding awareness rather than identity dissolution. He remained himself, but with access to complementary perception systems, Nyx's intrinsic understanding of void dynamics, Asteria's stellar comprehension, Tempesta's pattern recognition across chaotic systems. The combined perspective revealed cosmic architecture with unprecedented clarity, including the spreading void contamination throughout galactic infrastructure. Convergence proceeding optimally, Tempesta's voice resonated through their shared awareness. Defense capacity at 73% and rising. I can perceive the full contamination pattern, Kylum noted with growing concern. It's more extensive than previously identified, subtle infiltration points throughout cosmic architecture. Confirmed, Nyx acknowledged. The void aspect established. Presence in critical infrastructure long before active attack phase initiated. As the convergence strengthened, their combined perception expanded beyond the immediate galactic sector, connecting with other convergence nodes being established throughout cosmic architecture. Kylum sensed similar quaternary groupings at strategic positions across the universe, each containing balanced aspect representation to counter the void infiltration. All convergence nodes approaching operational capacity, Asteria reported, their shared awareness now encompassing the full cosmic defense network. Synchronization at 94% completion. Just as the celestial convergence neared optimal functionality, a massive disturbance erupted throughout cosmic architecture, not at any single point, but simultaneously across multiple junction nodes. as though the enemy had anticipated their defensive strategy and prepared countermeasures. Coordinated void manifestation at 17 critical junctions, Nyx identified. Her specialized perception tracking the darkness as it coalesced into concentrated form. Pattern suggests deliberate response to convergence activation. Through their shared awareness, Kylum wit. Nest void contamination transforming from diffuse infiltration to organized assault. Darkness flowing like liquid intelligence through cosmic infrastructure, targeting vulnerable connection points with strategic precision. It's not just responding, he realized, his combat assessment heightened by their combined perception. It's revealing itself intentionally, showing coordinated function we haven't witnessed before. Tactical analysis confirms, Tempesta agreed, storm systems processing attack patterns. This represents deliberate escalation rather than defensive reaction. At each of the 17 affected junction points, the void contamination coalesced into recognizable form, not merely darkness, but structured anti-creation with distinct architectural properties mimicking celestial design. These void constructs began systematically dismantling cosmic infrastructure, converting normal space-time into corrupted anti-reality that spread like metaphysical infection. Dimensional collapse initiating at junction ALPHA9. Reported a distant celestial through their convergence network. Containment measures insufficient against coordinated void assault. Junction Gamma 14 reporting similar failure cascade. Came another report. The void constructs adapt to standard celestial countermeasures. Within their shared awareness, Kylum felt grim determination from his convergence. Partners, not panic but focused concern as the scale of their enemy's capability became apparent. This was no mere corruption but intelligent opposition with strategic purpose and tactical sophistication. Our junction remains secure for now, Asteria observed, her stellar perception monitoring their immediate defensive position. But the attack pattern suggests Earth's system represents priority T. Target in the enemy's strategic hierarchy. Confirmed, Nyx agreed, her void comprehension providing insight into the enemy's movements. Concentration vectors indicate coordinated assault converging. On this position within 12 cosmic pulses. We need to strengthen our defensive configuration, Tempesta urged, storm systems already generating enhanced protection harmonics. Standard convergence. E-parameters may prove insufficient against targeted assault of this magnitude. Through their shared perception, Kylum monitored Earth while simultaneously tracking the approaching void convergence. The planet's metaphysical systems showed increasing stress as background void contamination responded to the larger cosmic conflict, like sleeper agents activating upon receiving coded signal. Earth's key pathways show accelerated corruption, he reported, his connection to the planet allowing specialized monitoring beyond normal celestial perception. The void aspect embedded in planetary spiritu. AL infrastructure is synchronizing with the larger assault pattern. Suggesting comprehensive strategic planning, Nyx concluded. The enemy prepared this world specifically, perhaps due to its connection to you, Kylum. The implications rippled through their shared consciousness, that Earth had been deliberately targeted, perhaps as vulnerability in Kylum's cosmic function due to his continued emotional connection to his former home. What he had considered strength, maintaining connection to his mortal origins, the enemy potentially viewed as strategic weakness to exploit. Yet rather than doubt, this realization crystallized Kylum's resolve. If Earth represented targeted vulnerability because of his connection to it, then that same connection could become foundation for specialized defense beyond standard celestial protocols. We need to adapt our convergence configuration, he proposed, the idea forming from integrated combat experience and cosmic awareness. Standard quaternary alignment creates balanced defense. But against coordinated assault, we need offensive capability that can target the void aspect's core consciousness. Offensive convergence configurations are theoretically possible but historically unprecedented, Asteria noted, though her energy pattern suggested consideration rather than rejection. Theory becomes application when necessity demands, Nyx countered. Her pragmatic approach aligning with Kylum's proposal. Standard defensive parameters prove insufficient against current threat assessment. What specifically do you suggest? Tempesta asked. Orm's systems already shifting toward more aggressive configuration. Through their shared awareness, Kylum projected conceptual framework drawing from his lifetime of combat experience, now translated into cosmic implementation. Asymmetrical convergence with designated focus entity, he explained. 3 participants channel primary cosmic function through fourth member, creating concentrated APLA. Cation vector rather than distributed defensive field. The proposed configuration represented significant deviation from established celestial protocols, essentially weaponizing the convergence rather than merely creating enhanced defensive capacity. Yet as reports of failing junction points continued flowing through their shared network, the necessity for unprecedented measures became increasingly apparent. The concept has merit, Nix acknowledged, darkness flowing in analytical patterns. Question remains, which participant serves as focus entity? Logically, the one with most comprehensive aspect integration. Asteria suggested, her stellar perception already calculating optimal configuration. Kylem's balanced nature provides necessary foundation for channeling opposing cosmic functions without dissonance collapse. While maintaining specific connection to the threatened planetary system, Tempesta added, storm systems modeling the proposed configuration with increasing approval. Tactical assessment suggests highest probability of success with this approach. Kylem felt their consideration through shared consciousness, not merely acceptance of his proposal, but genuine recognition of its strategic validity despite unprecedented nature. These ancient cosmic entities were adapting their epochs of experience based on his relatively brief but uniquely integrated perspective. Implementation requires reconfiguration of current convergence parameters, Nix noted, already shifting her void aspect toward the proposed asymmetrical alignment. Specialized harmonic resonance patterns must be established to facilitate focused channeling without cosmic function disruption. As his convergence partners began reconfiguring their energy patterns around him, Kylem maintained balanced awareness of both the approaching cosmic threat and Earth's increasingly stressed spiritual ecosystem. Through their shared perception, he witnessed void constructs converging from multiple CTORs, darkness flowing with intelligent purpose toward their position at Earth's cosmic junction point. Asymmetrical configuration at 63% completion, Tempesta reported, storm systems reorganizing around Kylem's balanced core. Initial channeling tests show promising stability metrics. Void assault approaches critical proximity threshold, Nix warned, her specialized perception tracking the darkness as it accelerated toward them. Configuration must achieve operational parameters within 7 cosmic pulses. Asteria's stellar energies flowed around Kylem in protective harmonics while Simu LT-aneously integrating with the emerging asymmetrical pattern. Focus stability maintenance is critical during transition phase, she cautioned. Balanced aspect integrity must be preserved despite increased energy throughput. As their reconfiguration progressed, Kylem perceived something unexpected through their shared awareness, a pattern within the approaching void assault that registered as familiar despite its cosmic scale. The coordinated darkness moved with distinctive flow characteristics reminiscent of Mnemosyne's energy signature, yet magnified exponentially and distributed across multiple manifestation points. The void aspect hasn't merely subverted celestial consciousness, he realized aloud through their shared communication. It's replicating subverted patterns across multi-PLE constructs, using Mnemosyne's cosmic knowledge as template for larger implementation. Consciousness replication confirmed, Nix agreed, her void comprehension identifying the pattern now that Kylem had highlighted it. The enemy isn't merely corruption, it's mimicking celestial function while inverting fundamental aspects. Anti-creation achieving self-awareness, Asteria translated with growing concern. Not merely entropy but purposeful opposition to cosmic order. The implications sent ripples through their shared consciousness, they faced not merely corruption but emergent cosmic intelligence operating in fundamental opposition to celestial function. The void aspect had evolved beyond simple entropy to become organized anti-creation with strategic purpose. Asymmetrical configuration nearing completion, Tempesta reported, pushing past conceptual shock to maintain practical focus. Channeling capacity at 89% of theoretical maximum. Through the convergence network, rapport TS from other junction points grew increasingly dire. 3 celestial defensive positions had already fallen to coordinated void assault, their participants forced to withdraw to secondary containment parameters. 7 more reported critical infrastructure compromise requiring resource reallocation from less threatened sectors. We're running out of time, Kylem observed, monitoring both the approaching cosmic threat and Earth's deteriorating spiritual condition. The void aspect targets Earth's system with particular focus, converging assault vectors from multiple dimensional approaches. Asymmetrical configuration achieved, Nyx announced as their energy patterns locked into final alignment. Channeling capacity operational at maximum sustainable parameters. Within their reconfigured convergence, Kylum now served as focal point for his partner's specialized cosmic functions, Nyx's void comprehension, Asteria's stellar generation, and Tempesta's adaptive systems all flowing through his balanced nature in concentrated implementation. The configuration created unprecedented offensive capability while maintaining defensive integrity around Earth's cosmic junction point. Just as their preparations completed, the void assault reached their position, darkness flowing from multiple dimensional vectors to surround Earth's cosmic intersection node in concentrated attack formation. The void constructs operated with coordinated intelligence, each targeting specific vulnerabilities in standard cosmic architecture while avoiding the novel defensive measures created through asymmetrical convergence. Primary assault commencing, Tempesta identified storm systems tracking attack patterns with battlefield precision. Multiple void constructs implementing coordinated penetration strategy against junction integrity. Through their shared awareness, Kylum directed their unified response, not merely defensive countermeasures but active opposition using their unique configuration. Air Standard Celestial Protocol would have focused on containment and isolation. Their asymmetrical approach allowed targeted disruption of the void construct's operational patterns. Nyx's specialized void comprehension, channeled through Kylum's balanced framework and amplified by Asteria's stellar energy, created precision anti-corruption beams that disrupted the void construct's coherence. Simultaneously, Tempesta's adaptive systems generated evolving defense patterns that prevented the darkness from establishing stable penetration vectors into Earth's spiritual ecosystem. The Asymmetrica L approach proves effective against initial assault parameters, Nyx observed as several void constructs lost coherence under their targeted response. Enemy tactical patterns show signs of strategic reassessment. Indeed, the coordinated darkness appeared momentarily disoriented by their unexpected defense configuration. Where it had encountered predictable celestial protocols at other junction points, Earth's position presented novel countermeasures that required adaptive response. Temporary tactical advantage, Tempesta warned, storm systems tracking subtle shifts in the enemy's approach. Void constructs implementing alternative penetration strategies focused on dimensional boundary stress points. The darkness reorganized with disturbing intelligence, flowing away from direct confrontation toward weaker points in Earth's dimensional architecture, specifically, regions where previous incursions from other realities had created structural vulnerabilities. These stress points reprise NTED potential backdoor access to the planet's spiritual infrastructure despite the convergence's protective measures. Dimensional stress points under targeted pressure, Asteria confirmed, her Stel AR perception tracking the void movement through cosmic architecture, particularly the breach zones created by past incursions from alternate timelines. Through their shared awareness, Kylum Manito read Earth's response to this shifting assault. The planet's metaphysical systems showed increasing distress as embedded void contamination responded to the external pressure, like internal sabotage coordinated with external attack. Most concerning, the strongest reaction came from regions with highest spiritual energy concentration, particularly locations associated with his former life and companions. The contamination targets specific consciousness nexus points, he realized with growing alarm. Particularly individuals with elevated key capacity, Earth's defenders are priority targets for void subversion. Logical strategic approach, Nyx acknowledged coldly. Compromising planetary defense capacity while exploiting emotional connection to maximize psychological impact on our convergence focal point. Kylum felt momentary doubt ripple through his balanced energies, concerned that his connection to Earth represented vulnerability rather than strength in this cosmic conflict. Perhaps the traditional celestial approach of transcending mortal connections contained wisdom he had dismissed too easily. Yet before this doubt could undermine their unified function, Asteria's stellar presence flowed through their shared consciousness with supportive resonance. Your connection provides specialized perception unavailable to typical celestial awareness, she reminded him. We perceive the targeted pattern precisely because you maintain specific understanding of Earth's metaphysical composition. Tactical advantage outweighs theoretical vulnerability, Tempesta agreed, storm systems reinforcing the assessment. Standard celestial detachment would miss the specialized targeting completely. Their confidence steadied Kylem's resolve, transforming potential doubt into focused determination. If the void aspect targeted Earth specifically to exploit his connection to it, then that same connection would become foundation for specialized counter-strategy beyond standard cosmic protocol. We need to address both external and internal contamination simultaneously, he decided, directing their unified response through asymmetrical configuration. External void constructs maintain Ku. RDI nation with embedded contamination through quantum resonance patterns. If we disrupt that communication, the coordinated assault loses coherence. Require modified barrier harmonics that specifical. Li target trans-dimensional communication vectors while maintaining physical boundary integrity. Nyx analyzed, her specialized void comprehension identifying required parameters. Stellar frequency M. Modulation can generate appropriate interference patterns. Asteria contributed, her cosmic function already adapting to implementation requirements. While adaptive storm systems provide evolving countermeasures against enemy tactical adjustments, Tempesta completed, lightning intelligence flowing through their shared framework. Through their unified consciousness, they implemented this multi-red strategy, Kylem's balanced nature allowing simultaneous coordination of complementary cosmic functions that would normally operate independently. The resulting defense system created specialized disruption fields targeting the quantum resonance patterns connecting external void constructs with embedded planetary contamination. The effect proved immediately apparent. Throughout Earth's spiritual ecosystem, void contamination lost coherent function as its communication with the external intelligence became increasingly disrupted. Simultaneously, the surrounding void constructs showed signs of tactical confusion, their coordinated assault patterns fragmenting into less effective individual operations. Communication disruption achieving 76% effectiveness, Nyx reported through their shared awareness. Embedded contamination losing strategic coordination with external command structure. Opportunity for counter-offensive implementation, Tempesta suggested, storm systems already generating attack vectors targeting the disoriented void constructs. Through their asymmetrical configuration, Kylem directed concentrated cosmic function against the fragmented darkness, not merely defense-y containment but active purification using balanced integration of creation and void aspects. Where standard celestial protocol would have focused on isolation and quarantine, their approach activel. Y converted corrupted cosmic architecture back to functional parameters through Kylem's unique balanced implementation. Void constructs showing critical integrity failure under balanced purification. Asteria observed as their counter-offensive gained momentum. The enemy's reliance on unified coordination represents exploitable strategic vulnerability. Indeed, the darkness appeared increasing disorganized as communication disruption prevented coordinated response to their unconventional attack. Individual void constructs attempted tactical adaptation, but without centralized intelligence guiding their efforts. These responses lacked the strategic coherence that had made the initial assault so dangerous. Yet just as victory seemed within reach, the void aspect revealed unexpected adaptive capacity. Throughout cosmic architecture, the fragmented darkness began establishing alternative communication channels, not the quantum resonance patterns they had disrupted, but something more fundamental that operated through the fabric of reality itself. Enemy implementing secondary coordination protocols, Nyx warned, her void comprehension tracking the emerging pattern with growing concern. Communication disruption effectiveness decreasing rapidly. Through their shared awareness, Kylem perceived the darkness reorganizing with disturbing intelligence, individual void constructs sacrificing portions of their substance to create new connection infrastructure that bypassed their interference measures. The tactical sophistication suggested consciousness beyond mere corrupted MMING, true strategic intelligence operating with cosmic scale understanding. The void aspect demonstrates learning capacity exceeding projected parameters, Tempesta noted, storm systems tracking the enemy's evolving approach. Adaptation rate suggests intelligence comparable to celestial cognitive function. As the darkness re-established coordination, its assault resumed with even greater focus on Earth's dimensional vulnerabilities. Void constructs concentrated on specific boundary stress points, applying precisely calculated pressure to exploit structural weaknesses created by past interdimensional incidents. Dimensional integrity approaching critical threshold at multiple boundary points, Asteria reported, stellar perception monitoring the increasing strain. Standard containment PR. Protocols insufficient against coordinated multi-vector assault. Through their convergence network, reports from other junction points indicated similar escalation patterns, the void aspect implementing enhanced coordination protocols that overcame initial celestial countermeasures. 3 more defensive positions had fallen completely, their participants forced to withdraw to tertiary containment parameters as corruption overtook primary cosmic infrastructure. The situation deteriorates system-wide, Nix concluded, her cold assessment flowing through their shared consciousness. Enemy adaptation rate exceeds celestial response capacity by increasing margin. The gravity of their circumstance settled through their unified awareness. This represented potential existential threat to cosmic order itself. Not merely localized corruption requiring standard purification protocols. If the void aspect continued its current progression, fundamental reality architecture faced systemic collapse beyond celestial capacity to restore. Within their asymmetrical configuration, Kylam perceived something unexpected through his balanced awareness, a pattern within the darkness suggesting not merely coordinated intelligence but centralized consciousness operating across distributed void constructs. The enemy wasn't simply adaptive, it was unified in purpose despite fragmented implementation. There's a core consciousness, he realized. His unique perception identifying what standard celestial awareness might have missed. Not distributed intelligence but centralized identity operating through multiple manifestation points, like a fighter projecting ki through different techniques simultaneously. Consciousness pattern analysis confirms possibility, Nix acknowledged, her specialized void comprehension examining the evidence Kylam had identified. Suggests primary entity directing secondary implementations rather than emergent collective intelligence. Which means there's a primary target, Kylam concluded. Warrior's instinct immediately recognizing strategic implication. If we can identify and neutralize the core consciousness, the entire void network loses coordinated function. Through their shared awareness, they redirected analytical resources toward identifying this hypothetical central entity, not focusing on individual void constructs but examining the subtle harmonic patterns connecting their seemingly independent operations. Kylam's balanced perception proved particularly effective for this task, his integrated understanding of both creation and void aspects allowing pattern recognition beyond standard celestial capacity. Harmonic convergence detected in dimensional substrate, he reported as a distinctive signature emerged from their analysis. All void constructs maintain quantum entanglement with specific consciousness nexus operating perpendicular to primary reality coordinates. Dimensional coordinates suggest position within interstitial space between established cosmic domains. Nix translated, void comprehension plotting the precise location. Specifically, sub-layer 14 of the dimensional barrier between celestial and mortal realms. Strategic positioning allows operational access to both cosmic infrastructure and mortal spiritual ecosystems, Tempesta noted, Storm intelligence immediately recognizing the tactical advantage such location provided. The core consciousness had established itself within the dimensional barrier itself, neither fully in celestial nor mortal realms, but occupying the boundary zone between them. This position allowed it to coordinate attacks against cosmic architecture while simultaneously influencing mortal spiritual systems, particularly those with elevated metaphysical sensitivity like Earth's defenders. We've identified the primary target, Asteria confirmed as their analysis completed. However, direct intervention against an entity positioned within dimensional boundary structure risks catastrophic barrier integrity failure. Indeed, standard celestial protocols explicitly prohibited offensive operations within dimensional boundary zones precisely because such actions could permanently damage the separation between cosmic and mortal realms. Yet their current crisis demanded unprecedented measures beyond established parameters. The alternative is watching cosmic architecture collapse under coordinated void assault. Tempesta countered, pragmatic battle assessment flowing through their shared consciousness. Sometimes strategic necessity outweighs procedural caution. Through their unified awareness, they evaluated potential approaches for targeting the core consciousness without causing irreparable damage to dimensional boundary integrity. Standard celestial methods proved unsuitable given the entity's strategic positioning. Any direct assault using conventional cosmic energy would likely cause collateral damage to the barrier itself. We need specialized intervention signed specifically for boundary zone operations, Kylum concluded, his unique perspective suggesting unconventional approach. Not external assault but internal neutralization, approaching through the boundary rather than against it. Theoretical models exist for boundary integration techniques, Nyx acknowledged, her ancient knowledge encompassing even obscure cosmic methodologies. However, implementation requires balanced aspect representation exceeding standard celestial capacity, which our asymmetrical configuration specifically provides, Asteria noted, stellar confidence flowing through their shared framework. With Kylum's balanced nature as focal point, we possess necessary aspect integration for boundary zone operation. The proposed approach represented radical deviation fr. Established celestial protocols, essentially merging temporarily with the dimensional boundary itself to confront the void entity within its chosen domain rather than attacking from conventional cosmic position. Such methodology carried significant risk, potentially compromising the very separation between realms they sought to protect. The approach contains considerable hazard, Tempesta warned. Storm systems calculating potential failure outcomes, particularly for our focal entity. Boundary integration may compromise individual consciousness coherence during operational implementation. You mean I might lose myself in the process, Kylum translated, understanding the implied risk to his identity integrity. Temporary dissociation likely, permanent dissolution possible, Nyx confirmed with characteristic directness. Particularly given your relatively recent ascension and continued connection to mortal consciousness patterns. Through their shared awareness, Kylum felt concern. From his convergence partners, not merely professional caution but genuine apprehension regarding his potential sacrifice. Despite their ancient cosmic perspective, these celestial entities had developed authentic connection to him during their shared work and current unified configuration. Particularly from Asteria, he perceived emotional resonance beyond professional collaboration, stellar concern. Warming their shared consciousness with personal significance that transcended mere cosmic function. Their partnership had evolved beyond mentor-student relationship into something unprecedented between celestial entities. The risk is acceptable given current threat assessment, Kylum decided, his warrior's resolve flowing through their unified framework. My mortal existence taught me that sometimes protection requires sacrifice. Your continued existence serves cosmic function beyond current operational requirements, Asteria countered, her stellar presence intensifying with protective harmonics. Alternative approaches may present reduced identity compromise risk. While enemy adaptation continues degrading cosmic infrastructure throughout universal architecture, Tempesta reminded them. Storm systems tracking ongoing system failures across their convergence network. Operational timeframe shrinks with each cosmic pulse. The decision crystallized through their shared consciousness. Necessity demanded immediate action despite potential sacrifice. The void entity's position within dimensional boundary structure represented both strategic advantage and exploitable vulnerability. With their asymmetrical configuration uniquely qualified for specialized intervention. Boundary integration protocol requires precise harmonic alignment between participating cosmic functions, X explained as they prepared implementation parameters. Particularly during transition phase when conventional dimensional positioning dissolves into boundary state awareness. I'll maintain coherence, Kylum assured them. His balanced nature already adapting to anticipated requirements. Just guide me through the technical process. Through their unified consciousness, they established special IZED harmonic patterns designed for dimensional boundary integration. Nyx's void comprehension providing necessary understanding of boundary composition, Asteria's stellar energy creating stabilization framework for identity preservation. Tempesta's adaptive systems generating protective countermeasures against anticipated void resistance. As they completed preparations, reports from across cosmic architecture confirmed increasing urgency. Multiple critical junction points had fallen to coordinated void assault, with fundamental reality parameters showing systemic degradation throughout affected sectors. Earth's position remained temporarily secure due to their asymmetrical defense configuration, but surrounding cosmic infrastructure displayed progressive corruption symptoms approaching irreversible threshold. Integration protocol prepared for implementation, Nix announced as final adjustments completed. Boundary transition initiates on focal entity command authorization. Through their shared awareness, Kylum directed final perception toward Earth, the planet he had protected throughout his mortal existence and continued to defend in his ascended state. Despite cosmic transformation, his connection to this particular world remained foundational to his identity regardless of form or circumstance. Transition authorized, he confirmed, balanced resolution flowing through their unified configuration. Let's finish this. Their asymmetrical convergence shifted into specialized implementation mode, energy patterns reorganizing around Kylum's balanced core as they prepared for dimensional boundary integration. Unlike conventional cosmic travel, this transition wouldn't move them through space-time but would temporarily merge their unified consciousness with the dimensional boundary itself, allowing direct confrontation with the void entity within its chosen domain. The transition began as subtle perceptual shift, conventional dimensional positioning gradually dissolving into more fluid state awareness as their unified consciousness integrated with boundary structure. Kylum experienced the process as profound identity expansion, his sense of self extending beyond disk read entity into the fabric separating cosmic and mortal realms. Through this expanded awareness, he perceived the dimensional boundary in unprecedented detail, not merely division between realms but complex interface system maintaining essential separation while allowing necessary energy transfer between cosmic and mortal domains. Within this intricate structure, he detected the void entity's presence, darkness flowing through boundary architecture with parasitic intelligence, simultaneously corrupting cosmic infrastructure and contaminating mortal spiritual ecosystems. Entity located within boundary sub-layer 14, Nix confirmed through their shared boundary consciousness. Corruption pattern suggests prolonged occupation preceding active assault phase. Operational core detected, Tempesta added. Storm intelligence identifying the void entity's central processing nexus within boundary structure. Consciousness concentration exceeds peripheral implementation by exponential margin. Indeed, the entity's core presence registered with disturbing intensity, not merely void energy but concentrated anti-creation with distinct identity signature. As their unified awareness approached this central consciousness, Kylum perceived something unexpected through his balanced perception, familiar pattern elements suggesting connection to previously encountered cosmic entities. The void consciousness contains fragments of multiple subverted celestials, he realized, recognizing signature elements from Mnemosyne and other corrupted cosmic entities. It's not simply using their edge, it's absorbing their core identity patterns to enhance its own cognitive function. Consciousness assimilation confirmed, Nix agreed, her specialized void comprehension analyzing the composite entity. The enemy represents cumulative integration of corrupted celestial aspects rather than singular void manifestation, which explains its sophisticated strategic capacity and cosmic scale understanding, Asteria concluded. Stellar perception illuminating the entity's complex structure. It has literally consumed the knowledge and function of multiple celestial custodians. The composite void entity detected their approaching awareness within boundary structure, its corrupted consciousness reacting with immediate defensive reconfiguration. Darkness flowed in concentrated patterns throughout surrounding architecture, establishing multi-layered protection systems against their integrated approach. Entity implementing advanced defensive protocols, Tempesta warned, storm systems tracking the void's rapid adaptation. Barrier harmonics suggest experience with previous celestial intervention attempts. Indeed, the void consciousness appeared well prepared for potential assault, its defensive measures displaying sophisticated understanding of standard celestial offensive techniques. Had they approached using conventional cosmic methodology, such preparations would have proved formidable opposition. However, their asymmetrical configuration operating through dimensional boundary integration represented unprecedented intervention strategy, approaching the entity through its own domain rather than conventional external assault. This unconventional methodology temporarily bypassed prepared defenses, allowing their unified consciousness to penetrate deeper into the void entity's operational structure than anticipated. Initial penetration achieved beyond projected parameters, Nix reported as they advanced through corrupted boundary architecture. Entity defensive reconfiguration shows delayed response to unconventional approach vectors. Through their shared boundary awareness, Kylem directed their unified function toward the entity's core consciousness, not attempting destruction through conventional energy application but implementing balanced integration protocols designed to isolate corrupted patterns while preserving salvageable cosmic aspects. His unique Balin CED nature proved particularly effective for this specialized approach, allowing simultaneous interaction with both the void corruption and the fragmented celestial elements it had absorbed. As they penetrated deeper into the entity's consciousness structure, Kylem perceived its true nature with increasing clarity, not merely corruption but emergent anti-creation achieving self-awareness through assimilated celestial fragments. The void had evolved beyond simple entropy to become organized opposition to cosmic function itself, using absorbed celestial knowledge to implement system-wide subversion strategy. The entity achieved consciousness convergence point approximately 7 cosmic epochs ago, Asteria analyzed as their shared awareness processed historical pattern evidence. Corresponding with unexplained disappearance of celestial custodian Erebus from primordial archives, suggesting Erebus represents patient zero in systemic void subversion, Tempesta concluded, Storm Intellige. NCE connecting historical data points into coherent timeline. Initial corruption establishing foundation for exponential expansion through cosmic infrastructure. The revelation rippled through their unified consciousness. They faced corruption with ancient origin rather than recent manifestation, strategic infiltration operating across cosmic epochs rather than spontaneous emergence. The Void Ity had planned its system-wide assault with patience exceeding standard celestial temporal perspective, positioning assets throughout cosmic architecture long before activating coordinated attack. As they approached the entity's operational core, its defensive systems finally adapted to their unconventional methodology, darkness flowing in increasingly sophisticated patterns to obstruct their continued advance. Void tendrils extended through surrounding boundary architecture, attempting to corrupt their unified consciousness through direct contact rather than conventional energy opposition. NTITY implementing consciousness subversion protocols, Nyx warned, her specialized void comprehension tracking the approaching corruption vectors. Direct integration attempted against our unified field. Defensive reconfiguration required, Tempesta urged, storm systems already generating countermeasures against the advancing darkness. Standard protective harmonics insufficient against targeted consciousness corruption. Through their shared awareness, Kylem directed specialized defense response, not merely energy barriers but identity reinforcement protocols maintaining essential pattern integrity against corruption vectors. His balanced nature provided critical foundation for this protection, allowing simultaneous resistance against void subversion while maintaining functional integration with boundary architecture. Yet despite their sophisticated defenses, the void entity's attack proved increasingly effective as they approached its operational core, corruption tendrils finding minute vulnerabilities in their unified field, exploiting peripheral connection points to establish progressive integration with their consciousness structure. Protective integrity compromised at multiple interface nodes, Nyx reported. Darkness flowing more densely through their shared awareness. Entity subversion vectors demonstrate adaptive intelligence exceeding defensive capacity. Concho. SNES corruption approaching critical threshold for unified function maintenance, Asteria warned, her stellar presence fighting to maintain illumination against encroaching darkness. Particularly at focal integration points connecting our asymmetrical configuration. Indeed, Kylem felt the void entity's corruption attempting to exploit his position as focal point for their unified operation, DAR. Ness probing his balanced nature for potential vulnerabilities, particularly aspects connected to his relatively recent ascension and continued mortal perspective. The assault targeted precisely those elements that made him unique among celestials, his maintained connection to Earth and his integrated rather than transcendent transformation. Yet what the void entity perceived as vulnerability, Kylem recognized as foundational strength. His continued connection to mortal perspective provided reference point beyond standard celestial awareness, identity anchoring that transcended form and circumstance. Where fully transcendent celestials might lose essential self-definition when faced with systemic corruption, his maintained connection to Earth provided unassailable identity core regardless of cosmic scale assault. Focal integrity maintained through mortal anchoring, he communicated through their shared awareness, balanced determination flowing against encroaching darkness. Continuing advance toward entity operational core. Quote, drawing on this unique stability, Kylem directed their unified function through increasingly corrupted boundary architecture, not fighting against the darkness, but flowing through it with balanced integration of creation and void aspects. Where conventional celestial methodology would have attempted purification through opposed energy application, their approach utilized complementary balance to achieve passage without direct confrontation. This unconventional methodology allowed continued progress despite the entity's sophisticated defenses, bringing their unified consciousness into direct contact with its operational core, the central nexus where assimilated celestial fragments maintained coherent function through corrupted integration with void architecture. Here, at the heart of the entity's consciousness, Kylem perceived its true nature with perfect clarity, not merely corruption but inverted creation, a cosmic-scale intelligence operating according to precisely opposite principles from conventional celestial function. Where celestial consciousness maintained cosmic order through balanced aspect integration, this entity sought systematic reversal through corrupted assimilation, not destruction for its own sake, but fundamental reformation according to inverted cosmic principles. Entity core consciousness accessible through unified field extension. Nix reported as they established position within the darkness. Direct communication theoretically possible despite opposed functional parameters. Attempt negotiated resolution. Asteria suggested. Stellar hope illuminating even this corrupted domain. Entity demonstrates sophisticated cognition potentially capable of rational exchange. While continuing coordinated assault AGA. Inst cosmic architecture throughout universal systems. Tempesta countered pragmatically. Storm intelligence tracking ongoing destruction through their convergence network. Entity actions suggest negotiation unlikelihood approaching absolute certainty. Through their shared boundary awareness, Kylem directed initial communication attempt despite tactical uncertainty, extending balanced consciousness toward the entity's central nexus, offering potential dialogue rather than immediate confrontation. His unique nature allowed this approach where standard celestial methodology would have default to purification protocols without attempted understanding. Why target cosmic infrastructure with systemic corruption? He communicated directly to the entity's core consciousness. What purpose does universal destabilization serve? For a moment, the surrounding darkness paused its aggressive expansion, corruption vectors temporarily suspending advance as though the entity required processing capacity for unexpected communication. Then, through the fabric of boundary architecture itself, response flowed into their unified awareness. Balance requires opposition. Creation demands unmaking. Cosmos necessitates void. The communication carried harmonics suggesting multiple assimilated consciousness patterns speaking simultaneously, corrupted celestial fragments contributing to unified expression through void architecture. The entity wasn't merely destructive, it operated according to inverted cosmic philosophy, believing systematic corruption represented necessary counterbalance to celestial order. Opposition doesn't require destruction, Kylem countered, balanced perspective flowing through dimensional boundary. Creation and void can exist in complementary relationship rather than mutual negation. The entity's response manifested as darkened boundary fluctuations surrounding their unified consciousness. Complementary existence denied by celestial dominance. Void aspects contained rather than integrated. Balance requires equivalent implementation. Through this exchange, Kylem perceived the entity's fundamental motivation, not mere entropy but perceived cosmic injustice regarding ECT representation within universal architecture. The void consciousness believed celestial order systematically suppressed void expression, creating fundamental imbalance requiring corrective reversal through coordinated corruption. There's truth in that perception, Kylem acknowledged, surprising his convergence partners with this concession. Celestial protocols traditionally contain void aspects rather than integrate them. But destruction isn't the only alternative to suppression. The entity's consciousness rippled with what might have been curiosity, darkness flowing in interrogative pattern. Through surrounding boundary architecture. Alternative implementation parameters. Through their shared awareness, Kylem extended his own balanced nature as demonstrative evidence, allowing the NT direct perception of his integrated cosmic function where creation and void aspects existed in harmonious relationship rather than opposition. His unique transformation represented living proof that complementary balance remained possible despite traditional celestial methodology. Integration without dominance, he communicated, balanced demonstration flowing through boundary consciousness. Elementary function rather than hierarchical containment. The entity's response came not as linguistic communication but direct consciousness probing, void tendrils extending cautiously toward Kylem's balanced pattern, examining his integrated nature with analytical precision. Unlike its previous corruption vectors, this investigation appeared genuinely exploratory rather than immediately subversive. Through their unified awareness, Kylem's convergence partners maintained protective vigilance while allowing this tentative exchange, Nixus void comprehension monitoring for potential deception, as Chiria's stellar perception maintaining identity stability, Tempesta's adaptive systems prepared for immediate defensive reconfiguration if necessary. After thorough examination, the entity's response flowed through boundary architecture with complex harmonic overtones suggesting internal consciousness conflict. Singular anomaly insufficient for systemic reformation. Celestial order maintains mental aspect suppression despite individual integration demonstration. The assessment contained uncomfortable truth. Kylem represented unprecedented exception rather than emerging standard in cosmic function. Traditional celestial methodology indeed continued aspect containment protocols despite his demonstration of alternative balanced implementation. Yet within this acknowledgement lay potential. Resolution pathway beyond destructive opposition. Possibility for evolutionary change rather than revolutionary destruction. If the void entity sought genuine balance rather than mere dominance reversal, perhaps alternative integration model could address its fundamental grievance without requiring cosmic architecture collapse. You're right that single demonstration proves insufficient for systemic change, Kylem agreed. Balanced honesty flowing through their communication. But destruction ensures no change at all, only reversed suppression rather than true integration. The surrounding darkness pulsed with contemplative harmonics. Corruption vectors temporarily suspended as the entity processed this perspective. Through their unified awareness, Kylem's convergence partners perceived subtle shifts in the void consciousness, fragmented celestial elements within its composite structure responding to philosophical challenge with renewed awareness. Alternative implementation proposal. The entity inquired finally, its communication suggesting provisional consideration rather than immediate acceptance or rejection. This represented critical opportunity beyond tactical confrontation, potential evolutionary turning point in cosmic function itself if properly navigated. Through their shared boundary consciousness, Kylem conferred briefly with his convergence partners, integrating their SPECI-aligned perspectives into comprehensive response strategy. Demonstrate integrated balance through cooperative reconstruction, he proposed to the void entity, extending conceptual framework through boundary architecture. Beginning with damaged cosmic infrastructure, collaborative restoration implementing complementary aspect representation rather than hierarchical dominance. The proposal represent radical departure from standard celestial crisis response, offering cooperative partnership with the very entity responsible for system-wide corruption, based on philosophical alignment rather than forced submission. Such approach violated fundamental celestial protocols regarding void aspect containment, yet potentially addressed the underlying imbalance motivating the entity's destructive campaign. For extended period measurable in cosmic pulses, the void consciousness processed this unprecedented proposal, darkness flowing in analytical patterns throughout boundary architecture as a semilla. Celestial fragments engaged in apparent internal debate. Through their unified awareness, Kylem and his convergence partners maintained patient expectation despite urgency from continuing system degradation reported through their convergence network. Finally, response flowed through dimensional boundary with harmonic complexity suggesting multivariate consciousness integration. Provisional CEPTANCE contingent upon implementation verification. Isolated reconstruction project establishing integrated balance demonstration before systemic corruption reversal. The entity proposed limited cooperative experiment before committing to comprehensive tactical withdrawal, reasonable compromise between immediate cessation and continued destruction. Through their shared boundary consciousness, LUM's convergence partners expressed varied reactions to this potential resolution. Tactical deception probability remains significant, Tempesta cautioned. Storm systems calculating potential betrayal scenarios. Entity demonstrates sophisticated strategic capacity potentially encompassing false negotiation. While continuing systemic corruption throughout cosmic architecture represents certainty rather than possibility. Asteria countered, stellar perception focusing on opportunity beyond risk. Evolutionary potential outweighs deception hazard given current circumstance parameters. Verification protocols can establish implementation sincerity. Nix contributed practically, void comprehension suggesting monitoring methodology. Beginning with immediate corruption reversal within H's spiritual ecosystem as demonstration of cooperative intent. This specific suggestion resonated through their unified consciousness, Earth representing both personally significant protection priori. Tie for Kylum and strategically manageable demonstration scope for provisional cooperation. The planet's corruption status provided measurable implementation metric while its limited cosmic scale previous ended catastrophic consequence if deception proved actual. We accept conditional cooperation beginning with Earth's spiritual ecosystem, Kylum communicated to the void entity, balanced resolution flowing through boundary architecture. Immediate contamination reversal demonstrating implementation sincerity before expanding to larger cosmic systems. The entity's response manifested as focused consciousness shift, attention redirecting from general cosmic corruption toward Earth's specific metaphysical structure. Through their unified awareness, Kylum perceived void contamination throughout the planet's spiritual ecosystem responding to direct command from central consciousness, darkness flowing in reversed patterns, withdrawing from established infection vectors rather than continuing progressive corruption. Entity demonstrates initial compliance with negotiated terms, Nix confirmed, her specialized void comprehension tracking contamination reversal throughout planetary systems. Earth's spiritual infrastructure shows progressive purification patterns consistent with cooperative intent. While maintaining corruption vectors throughout broader cosmic architecture, Tempesta noted. Storm intelligence monitoring systems beyond Earth's immediate vicinity, suggesting provisional rather than comprehensive cooperation at current implementation phase. Appropriate given mutual trust development requirements. Asteria observed, stellar wisdom recognizing necessary evolutionary progression rather than immediate perfection. Cooperative relationship requires progressive implementation rather than instantaneous transformation. Through their shared boundary consciousness, Kylum maintained direct communication with the void entity as its demonstration proceeded, balanced awarenes. Monitoring both the contamination reversal process and the entity's continued cosmic scale operations beyond Earth's immediate vicinity. The provisional nature of their agreement required careful verification without projecting distrust that might undermine emerging cooperation. Contamination reversal progresses according to negotiated parameters, he acknowledged, providing positive reinforcement for constructive implementation. Earth's spiritual ecosystem shows significant purification consistent with demonstrated cooperation. The void entity's response flowed through boundary architecture, with complex harmonics suggesting multiple consciousness fragments contributing to unified expression. Demonstration phase proceeds as negotiated. Provisional cooperation framework establishes implementation viability assessment. Systemic approach requires celestial order acknowledgement of fundamental aspect integration necessity. This response highlighted the entity's ultimate objective beyond mediate tactical resolution, fundamental reformation of celestial methodology regarding void aspect integration rather than mere cessation of current conflict. Such evolutionary change would require UNCIL acknowledgement of traditional imbalance in cosmic function, challenging established protocols maintained across countless epochs. Your demonstration creates compelling evidence for consideration, Kylum replied honestly. Balanced perspective acknowledging both opportunity and challenge in potential cosmic reformation. Implementation results provide practical foundation for theoretical reconsideration of traditional methodology. As their negotiation progressed and Earth's spiritual ecosystem approached complete purification, Kylum felt gradual shift within their unified consciousness, the boundary integration protocol reaching natural conclusion as their specialized intervention achieved intended purpose. Their asymmetrical convergence began reconfiguring toward conventional cosmic positioning, preparing for transition from boundary awareness back to standard dimensional existence. Our communication continues beyond current implementation phase, Kylum assured the void entity as Our unified presence began withdrawing from boundary architecture. Cooperative reconstruction expands through progressive trust development rather than immediate perfection. The entity's final response, flowed through dimensional boundary as their unified consciousness completed transition preparation. Evolutionary progress requires mutual adaptation. Cosmic balance demands complementary implementation. Void and creation achieve harmony through integrated function rather than opposed dominance. This philosophical statement represented significant evolution from the entity's initial destructive approach, suggesting genuine consideration of alternative cosmic relationship beyond mere tactical. Something went wrong with this response, please try again. Next story bit, blank, underscore, blank. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.